A bullet doesn't care about your resume. Rico Dane learned that at 11:47 p.m., marble floor cold against his cheek, museum sirens screaming overhead. The woman he came to kill stood 5 feet away, shaking, alive, untouchable. Behind her, Adrian Voss didn't even draw his weapon. He didn't need to. The city already belonged to him. This is the story of how a spilled cup of coffee rewrote the rules of power in New York. How a waitress with bruised wrists became something far more dangerous than the men who hurt her. Drop your city in the comments. Let's see how far this story travels. Hit that like button. You're going to want to see how this ends. The espresso machine hissed like a wounded animal, steam clouding the air in angry bursts. Elora Quinn's hands trembled as she steadied the porcelain cup. White, delicate, expensive enough to cost her a week's wages if it shattered. The restaurant hummed with the kind of quiet that only existed when rich people ate. Silverware against bone china, murmured conversations that never rose above library volume, the distant clink of wine glasses touching in toasts she'd never be invited to make. Her wrist throbbed. The bruise there had deepened from purple to that sick greenish yellow that meant it was healing, but the bone underneath still felt wrong when she moved it. Rico had twisted it 3 nights ago, right before he shoved her against the bathroom sink hard enough to crack the mirror. She'd cleaned up the glass herself. Told the landlord it was an accident. He didn't ask questions. Nobody ever did. She moved through this dining room like a ghost, refilling water glasses and clearing plates, always keeping her head down, always staying invisible. That was the trick to survival in places like this. You became part of the wallpaper, part of the expensive decor that people paid not to notice. The Vermilion was the kind of restaurant where CEOs brought mistresses, where senators made deals over $40 appetizers, where the lighting was deliberately kept low so everyone looked 20 years younger and 10 pounds thinner. Adrian Voss sat in the corner booth. Everyone knew which booth was his. The staff had been informed on their first day. Table 9 was reserved every Thursday at 8 p.m. No exceptions. No substitutions. The man who sat there didn't eat much. Usually just a single course, something light, but he tipped in hundreds and expected perfection. The waitstaff rotated the assignment because nobody wanted to serve him twice in a row. There was something about the way he looked at you, like he was doing math in his head, calculating your worth down to the decimal point. Alara had avoided table 9 for 6 months straight, but tonight Marissa had called in sick and the floor manager was scrambling. When he'd pointed at her and jerked his head toward the corner booth, she'd felt her stomach drop. Just coffee, the manager had said. Don't fuck it up. Simple enough. Except nothing was ever simple when your hands wouldn't stop shaking and your wrists screamed every time you gripped something heavy. She made her way across the dining room, tray balanced on her left palm, right hand steadying the cup. Voss didn't look up as she approached. He was reading something on a tablet, his expression completely neutral, the kind of face you'd see on a statue in a museum. Sharp jawline, dark hair combed back. Suit that probably cost more than her car, if she still had a car. Rico had taken the keys last month, said she didn't need to go anywhere without him anyway. Your espresso, sir. Her voice came out quieter than she'd intended. He glanced up, eyes like frozen water. Not blue exactly, more like the color of ice right before it cracks. That's when her wrist gave out. The cup tipped. Hot espresso arced through the air in slow motion, a perfect brown parabola that ended on the pristine white cuff of Adrian Voss's shirt. The liquid spread fast, staining fabric that probably cost more than her rent. The restaurant went silent. Not the polite quiet of before. This was the absence of sound that happens right before something terrible. Conversation stopped mid-word. Silverware froze halfway to mouths. Even the kitchen noise seemed to cut out, like the whole building was holding its breath. Alara's heart hammered so hard she could feel it in her teeth. I'm so sorry. It's fine. His voice was calm, too calm, the kind of calm that made her skin prickle. She grabbed napkins from the table, dabbing uselessly at his sleeve, knowing even as she did it that she was making things worse, that she should stop touching him, that she was probably 30 seconds away from being fired and blacklisted from every decent restaurant in the city. Please, I'll pay for the dry cleaning. Stop. One word, not loud, but absolute. Her hands froze. He looked at her wrist. Really looked at it. His gaze tracked the bruise, followed the yellowish discoloration up her forearm where her sleeve had ridden up. She saw his jaw tighten, just slightly, the only change in his expression. "Who did that to you?" The question hit her like cold water. Not what happened, not "are you okay?" Just a direct surgical question that bypassed every polite deflection she'd ever practiced. It's nothing. I'm clumsy." "You're not clumsy." He said it like a statement of fact, like he'd already reviewed the evidence and reached a verdict. "You carried that tray perfectly until your wrist gave out. Someone hurt you." The floor manager appeared at her elbow, face red, voice tight with panic. "Mr. Voss, I am so deeply sorry. This is completely unacceptable. Leave us." 2 words. The manager vanished like smoke. Alara stood there, tray clutched against her chest like a shield, feeling the weight of every eye in the restaurant pressing against her back. Voss pulled out his phone, typed something quick, then set it face down on the table. "Sit." "I can't. I'm working." "You're fired." He said it without emotion. "Sit down." Her legs gave out. She dropped into the chair across from him, still holding the tray, mind racing through 100 different disasters. Fired. Blacklisted. Rico would lose his mind when he found out. She'd be short on rent. The bruise on her ribs from last week throbbed in sympathetic memory. "I need this job," she whispered. "No, you don't." Voss leaned back slightly, studying her the way someone might study a piece of art they were considering buying. "What's his name?" "What?" "The man who put his hands on you. Name." "I don't know what you're—" "Don't lie to me." Still calm, still neutral. But something flickered behind those ice chip eyes, something that made her think of deep water and undertow. "I don't have patience for lies. This goes one of 2 ways. You tell me his name, or you walk out that door and pretend this conversation never happened. Choose fast." Her mouth went dry. "Why do you care?" "I don't." He said it so flatly that she almost believed him. "But I care about order, and a man who leaves marks like that on someone's wrist is disorder. I don't tolerate disorder in my city." His city, like he owned it. Like every brick and street sign answered to him. Maybe they did. She'd heard stories about Adrian Voss. Everyone had. The man who never raised his voice but somehow always got what he wanted. The one who made problems disappear. Not with violence, but with paperwork. Foreclosures, bankruptcies. Suddenly your business license was revoked, your credit card stopped working, your car got towed, your apartment building got sold to a developer who wanted you gone. He dismantled lives with the precision of a surgeon, and by the time you realized what was happening, there was nothing left to fight with. "Rico Dane," she heard herself say. "His name is Rico Dane." Voss's expression didn't change, but his fingers moved on the tablet, typing something. "Where does he work?" "The docks, I think. He never really talks about it." "Does he live with you?" "Sometimes, when he feels like it." "Does he hit you in places people can see?" The question was so blunt it took her breath away. "What? Does he hit you where bruises show, or does he know better?" She looked down at her hands. "He knows better." "Smart." Voss set the tablet aside. "Stupid in other ways, but smart about that." "How long?" 11 months. "Why haven't you left?" "Because I'm scared. Because he knows where my sister lives. Because the last woman who tried to leave him ended up in the hospital with a shattered collarbone and 2 broken ribs. Because I'm broke and tired and I don't have anywhere to go, and some days it's easier to just take it than to fight." "It's complicated," she said instead. "It always is." He signaled to someone across the room, a man in a dark suit who'd been standing near the bar, someone she hadn't even noticed until now. The man approached, bent close while Voss murmured something she couldn't hear, then straightened and walked away. "What did you just do?" Alara asked. "Solved a problem." Voss stood, adjusting his stained cuff with the kind of calm precision that suggested ruined shirts happened to him all the time. "You're coming with me." "I'm not going anywhere with you." "Yes, you are." He said it like gravity, like an inevitable fact. "Because in about 4 hours, Rico Dane is going to find out you got fired. He's going to be angry. He's going to blame you. And when he gets angry, you know what happens." Her throat tightened. "You have 2 choices," Voss continued. "Go home and wait for him. Or come with me and never see him again. You can't just—" "I can do whatever I want." No arrogance in his voice, just certainty. The question is what you want. Do you want to keep running the same loop? Bruises, apologies, promises he'll change, until one day he goes too far and you end up in the morgue? Or do you want out? I don't even know you. You don't need to know me. You need to decide if you're done being afraid. The restaurant was still watching. She could feel their stares like heat lamps burning into her back. Her wrist throbbed. Her ribs ached. And somewhere in the back of her mind, a small voice whispered that this was insane. That you didn't just leave with strange men no matter how expensive their suits were. That nothing good came from getting involved with people like Adrian Voss. But that same voice also knew she was out of options. Okay, she whispered. He nodded once, like he'd expected nothing less. Leave everything. Don't go back to your apartment. Don't call anyone. My car is outside. I have a shift. You don't work here anymore. And in about 5 minutes, you won't work anywhere Rico Dane can find you. She stood on shaking legs, still holding the damn tray like an idiot. A waiter took it from her hands, gently, like she might shatter. The floor manager started to approach, but one look from Voss sent him retreating. The walk to the door felt like miles. Every step echoed, every face turned to watch. And when she pushed through the heavy glass doors into the cold November night, she heard the restaurant erupt into whispered chaos behind her. A black car idled at the curb. Not a limo, something sleeker, lower, the kind of vehicle that costs more than most people's houses. The same suited man from inside opened the rear door. Voss gestured for her to get in. She hesitated on the sidewalk, city lights reflecting in puddles from an earlier rain, the smell of hot pretzels and exhaust mixing in the air. This was it. The moment where she either trusted her instincts or ignored them completely. I'm not going to hurt you, Voss said quietly. If I wanted to hurt you, I would have let Rico do it. That logic was insane, but somehow it made sense. She got in the car. The interior smelled like leather and something else. Cologne, maybe? Or just the scent of money. Voss slid in beside her, and the door closed with a solid thunk that sounded expensive. The car pulled into traffic smoothly, no squealing tires or dramatic acceleration, just quiet, controlled movement through the city streets. Where are we going? She asked. Somewhere safe. That's not an answer. It's the only answer you need right now. He was typing on his phone again, messages firing off rapid fire. Rico Dane works for the Cordova Syndicate, low-level enforcement, muscle. He runs numbers out of a warehouse in Red Hook and thinks nobody notices him skimming off the top. She stared at him. How do you know that? I know everything that happens in this city. He said it matter-of-factly, the way someone might mention they knew the weather forecast. The Cordovas are a problem I've been meaning to address. Your friend just gave me an excuse. He's not my friend. No, he's a mistake you're about to stop making. The car turned onto a wider avenue, buildings getting taller, lights getting brighter. They were heading uptown. Way uptown. The kind of neighborhood where doormen wore uniforms and apartments had lobbies instead of just buzzers. I can't afford to live up here, she said. You're not paying rent. I'm not a charity case. No. He looked at her properly for the first time since getting in the car. You're an investment. That word, investment, sent a chill down her spine. In what? I haven't decided yet. The car pulled up to a building that looked like it had been carved from a single piece of black glass. The doorman opened her door before she could reach for the handle. Voss got out on the other side, already moving toward the entrance with the kind of casual authority that suggested he owned the place. He probably did. The lobby was all marble and steel, so clean it looked sterile. An elevator bank lined one wall. Voss pressed his thumb to a scanner, and the center elevator opened immediately. No waiting, no buttons, just smooth mechanical obedience. They rode up in silence. The numbers climbed, 20, 30, 40. She lost count somewhere around 50. Her ears popped. When the doors finally opened, they didn't open onto a hallway. They opened directly into an apartment. No, not an apartment. A space. The kind of space that came with its own zip code. Floor-to-ceiling windows looked out over the city, lights spreading in every direction like someone had spilled diamonds across black velvet. The furniture was minimal, expensive, the kind of stuff you saw in magazines and never touched. Everything was white or black or that specific shade of gray that rich people pretended wasn't just gray. Guest room is through there. Voss pointed to a door on the left. Bathroom attached. There's clothes in the closet. They'll fit. Don't leave this floor. How long am I staying here? Until I say otherwise. That's not... You want it out. He turned to face her, and for the first time all night, she saw something almost human flicker across his expression. Almost. This is what out looks like. You're safe here. Rico Dane can't touch you. The Cordovas can't touch you. Nobody can touch you. But that safety comes with rules. You stay here. You don't contact anyone from your old life. You don't make phone calls. You don't send emails. As far as the world is concerned, Elara Quinn disappeared tonight. That's kidnapping. That's protection. He moved to a bar cart in the corner, poured himself 2 fingers of something amber. You're free to leave any time you want. Door's not locked. But the second you walk out, you're back in Rico's world. Your choice. She looked at the windows, at the city spread out below like a game board. What happens to him? To Rico? Voss took a sip, considering. Nothing violent. I'm not a savage. But by morning, his bank accounts will be frozen. His credit cards will stop working. The warehouse where he works will be raided by the police for code violations. His apartment lease will be terminated. His phone will be disconnected. Every official record of his employment will vanish. And when he tries to reach out to the Cordovas for help, they'll have already heard he's been stealing from them. You can do all that in one night? I can do it in an hour. He set down the glass. The question is whether you can live with it. He deserves worse. Maybe. But worse creates complications. Clean solutions are always better. She walked to the windows, pressed her palm against the glass. It was cold. Real. Outside, the city pulsed and breathed, millions of people living lives she'd never touch. And somewhere down there, Rico was probably getting drunk, probably thinking about coming to find her, probably planning the next time he'd... Thank you, she said quietly. Don't thank me yet. Voss's reflection appeared in the glass beside hers. You think this is rescue. It's not. It's repositioning. Your father owes money to the Cordovas, a lot of money. That's why Rico had access to you in the first place. You were part of the collateral. The floor tilted. What? Thomas Quinn, your father. He borrowed $300,000 from the Cordovas 8 years ago to cover gambling debts. Couldn't pay it back. They've been collecting interest through you ever since. My father's dead. Debts don't die with people. They transfer. He turned away from the window. Rico wasn't your boyfriend. He was your warden. The Cordovas put him in your life to make sure you stayed scared, stayed compliant, stayed available if they ever needed leverage. Her knees went weak. She grabbed the window frame for support. That's not... He said he loved... He lied. Voss said it gently. Almost kind. People lie when they want something from you. You're going to have to get used to that. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to understand what you just walked away from and what you just walked into. He moved to the door. Get some sleep. Tomorrow, we start fixing this. Fixing what? He paused in the doorway. Everything. Then he was gone, and she was alone in a stranger's apartment 50 stories above a city that suddenly felt like a completely different place than the one she'd woken up in that morning. She didn't sleep. The guest room was bigger than her entire apartment had been. The bed was obscenely comfortable, the kind of mattress that probably cost more than a used car. But every time she closed her eyes, she saw Rico's face, heard his voice, felt his hands. This is what you wanted, she told herself. Out. You're out. But out felt like falling, and she didn't know where the ground was anymore. At 3 a.m., she gave up on sleep and took a shower. The bathroom had heated floors. Heated fucking floors. The shower had 6 different settings and water pressure that could strip paint. She stayed under the spray until her skin turned pink, washing away the smell of the restaurant, the memory of Rico's cologne, the invisible weight of hands that had controlled her for 11 months. The clothes in the closet fit perfectly. Too perfectly. Like someone had known her exact size before she'd even arrived. Jeans, t-shirts, a sweater that felt like wearing a cloud. All black or gray. All expensive. All anonymous. She found Voss in the main living area, standing at the windows with a tablet in his hand, silhouetted against the city lights. He didn't turn when she approached. Can't sleep? He asked. Can you? I don't sleep much. He tapped something on the screen. Rico just got evicted. He's currently trying to call you. Your phone has been disconnected. How do you know he's trying to call? I'm monitoring his phone. He said it like it was the most normal thing in the world. Also his email, his bank accounts, and his location. He's at a bar in Midtown. Getting drunk? Getting angry? Will he come looking for me? He'll try. He won't find you. Voss finally looked at her. You're scared. It wasn't a question. Yes, she admitted. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. He set the tablet aside. But you need to redirect it. Stop being scared of Rico. Start being scared of what happens if you don't adapt fast enough. Adapt to what? This. He gestured at the apartment, the city, himself. You're in a different world now. Different rules. The people I deal with don't care about your backstory or your sob story. They care about results, value, what you can offer that someone else can't. I'm a waitress. You were a waitress. Now you're something else. We just have to figure out what. Why do you care? He was quiet for a long moment, gaze drifting back to the windows. You spilled coffee on me. In that second, everyone in that restaurant held their breath, waiting to see how I'd react. They expected rage, violence, something dramatic. But I saw your wrist, and I made a calculation. The man who hurt you works for my enemies, which means you're connected to my enemies, which means you're useful. I'm a person, not a chess piece. Everyone's a chess piece. The question is whether you're a pawn or something more interesting. He turned to face her fully. The Cordovas have been expanding into territories I control. They think I won't notice. They think I'm too focused on the legitimate side of my business to care about street-level operations. They're wrong. And now I have you, someone they think they own, someone they've used as collateral, someone who can walk back into their world whenever I need eyes and ears inside their organization. Her stomach dropped. You want me to spy for you. I want you to survive. Spying is just the method. He moved closer, and she fought the urge to step back. Your father's debt is $300,000. The Cordovas have been collecting interest for 8 years. By their math, you owe them close to $500,000 now. You can't pay that. Your sister can't pay that. So they'll keep using you, and eventually her, until there's nothing left to use. My sister doesn't have anything to do with this. She will. That's how these things work. They escalate. His voice dropped. Unless someone breaks the cycle. And that someone is you? That someone is you? He said it with absolute certainty. I'm just providing the tools. I don't know how to spy. I don't know how to... You know how to listen. You know how to be invisible. You know how to survive men who want to control you. That's 90% of intelligence work. He picked up a folder from the coffee table, handed it to her. This is everything I know about the Cordova organization. Memorize it. Tomorrow, we start planning how you're going to walk back into their world and tear it apart from the inside. She opened the folder with shaking hands, photos, names, addresses, a family tree that looked like something out of a crime documentary. And there, near the bottom, a photo of Rico, younger, cleaner, smiling at the camera like he'd never hurt anyone in his life. I can't do this, she whispered. You already did. The second you got in my car, you chose a side. Voss moved to the door. Get some rest, real rest. Tomorrow, everything changes. He left her standing there, folder clutched in her hands, city lights streaming through the windows like searchlights hunting for something lost. Morning came gray and cold, the kind of November day that made you forget summer had ever existed. Alara woke to find breakfast laid out in the kitchen, coffee, pastries, fresh fruit arranged like art. No sign of Voss. She ate mechanically, reading through the folder. The Cordova family traced back 3 generations. The current head was Marcus Cordova, a man in his 60s who looked like someone's grandfather in his official photos but had a rap sheet that read like a horror novel. Underneath him, a network of sons, nephews, soldiers, and there, buried in the org chart, Rico Dane. Enforcement. Low level. Expendable. Her phone buzzed. Except she didn't have a phone anymore. She found a new smartphone on the counter, sleek and black, already turned on. One message waiting. Driver downstairs. Meeting in 1 hour. Dress professionally. V professionally. She looked down at her jeans and sweater, looked at the closet, found suits she definitely hadn't seen last night. Tailored, expensive, all in her size. 20 minutes later, she stepped out of the elevator looking like someone who belonged in boardrooms. The driver, same man from last night, opened the car door without a word. They drove through morning traffic, past her old neighborhood, past the restaurant, past everything familiar until the buildings changed from residential to commercial to something that looked like it had been designed by someone who thought regular buildings were too boring. They pulled up to a glass tower that reflected the sky so perfectly it looked like it was trying to disappear. Inside, security waved them through without checking IDs. The elevator required a keycard. They rode up to a floor that didn't have a number. The doors opened on a conference room with a view that made the apartment look modest. And there, at the head of a table that could seat 20, sat Adrian Voss. He wasn't alone. 3 other people occupied chairs. 2 men in suits that matched Voss's level of expensive, and a woman with silver hair pulled back so tight it looked painful. They all turned when Alara entered, studied her with expressions ranging from curious to hostile. "Gentlemen, Catherine," Voss gestured to an empty chair. "This is Alara Quinn. She's going to solve our Cordova problem." One of the men, older, with a face like weathered stone, snorted. "That's your solution? A waitress?" "Former waitress," Voss corrected. "And yes, sit down, Alara." She sat because her legs were shaking too hard to hold her up anymore. The woman, Catherine, was staring at her like she was a particularly disappointing piece of meat. "Let me understand this," Catherine said. "You pulled her out of a restaurant because she spilled coffee on you." "Because Rico Dane left marks on her," Voss interrupted. "Marks that indicate a pattern of control. Marks that indicate leverage. And because her father's debt gives us a direct line into their financial operations." "Her father's debt makes her a liability," the older man growled. "She's compromised. She's motivated." Voss opened a laptop, typed something. A screen descended from the ceiling, displaying a financial spreadsheet that made Alara's eyes cross. Thomas Quinn borrowed $300,000 8 years ago. The Cordovas have been compounding interest at 40% annually. By their books, the current debt is $473,000. They've been using his daughter as insurance. Keep her scared, keep her compliant, keep her available if they ever need to pressure someone. "Pressure who?" Alara heard herself ask. Everyone turned to look at her. She'd spoken. Interrupted. Broken whatever protocol existed in rooms like this. Voss didn't seem bothered. "Your father had a partner, a man named Chen, who ran a shipping company out of Jersey. When your father died, Chen took over the whole operation, including, presumably, your father's debts. But Chen's been making payments like clockwork, never late, never short, which means he's using the company to launder Cordova money." The second man, younger, sharper features, leaned forward. "You think they're running shipping containers?" "I know they are. I just can't prove it without access to their books." Voss looked at Alara. "Which is where you come in." "I don't have access to anything," she said. "You will." He clicked to another slide. Photos of a gala, fancy dresses, champagne glasses, people who look like they'd never worked a day in their lives. 3 weeks from now, the Cordovas are hosting their annual charity event. It's a cover for negotiations, deal-making, the usual criminal theater dressed up as philanthropy. Every major player in the city will be there, including Chen, including Marcus Cordova himself. Catherine's eyes narrowed. "You're planning to send her in?" "I'm planning to introduce her properly, as my guest." Voss looked at Alara. "The Cordovas think you're still under their thumb. They think Rico has you controlled. When you walk in on my arm, it sends a message. Their control is broken. Their asset is now mine. And your father's debt. I'm going to settle it," Alara said suddenly. "At the gala, publicly." Voss smiled. Actually smiled. It was terrifying. "Fast learner." "Wait," Catherine said. "You're going to just pay off her father's debt? $500,000? I'm going to demonstrate that their power over her is meaningless, that I can erase their leverage with a single transaction, that they're operating on a completely different tier than I am." Voss closed the laptop. "It's not about the money. It's about making Marcus Cordova look weak in front of every important person in this city." "He'll retaliate," the older man said. "Let him try." Voss stood. "This meeting is over. Catherine, I need updated projections on the waterfront properties by end of day. Michael, stay on the Chen shipping routes. Ilara, you're with me. Everyone filed out except Ilara and Voss. The door closed with a heavy click. You're insane, she said. Probably. He moved to the windows, hands in his pockets. But I'm also right. The Cordovas have been operating in my city like they own it. They don't. And you're going to help me remind them of that fact. By making me bait. By making you valuable. There's a difference. He turned to face her. Rico is already looking for you. He broke into your old apartment this morning, found it empty. He's panicking. And when he reports back to the Cordovas that you've disappeared, they're going to start asking questions. When they find out you're with me, they're going to make a move. And when they do, we'll be ready. What kind of move? That depends on Marcus. He's old school, believes in traditional methods. But his nephew Vincent is ambitious, reckless. He'll want to hit back hard, prove himself. Voss pulled out his phone, showed her a photo of a man in his 30s, handsome in an angular way, expensive suit that didn't quite hide the violence underneath. Vincent runs their street operations. He's the one who assigned Rico to you in the first place. I've never seen him. You will, probably sooner than you'd like. He pocketed the phone. Over the next 3 weeks, you're going to learn everything about the Cordova organization, their structure, their weaknesses, their tells. You're going to learn how to move in their world without flinching, how to listen without appearing to listen, how to make them underestimate you right up until the moment you don't need them to anymore. And if I can't? Then Rico finds you eventually, and this conversation becomes irrelevant. He said it flatly. No judgment, just fact. The only way forward is through. You understand that, right? There's no going back to your old life. That version of Ilara Quinn is gone. The question is who you become instead. She looked at her reflection in the window glass. Same face, same dark hair, same eyes that had spent 11 months looking at the floor, avoiding conflict, making herself small enough to survive. I want to learn, she said. Good. Voss checked his watch. You have 5 hours before your first lesson. Go home. Rest. There's a package being delivered to the apartment. Formal wear for the gala. Try it on. Get used to it. Tomorrow, we start etiquette training. Etiquette training? You're going to be walking into a room full of killers and thieves, pretending to be philanthropists. You need to blend in. Need to look like you belong. He moved toward the door. Catherine will be your instructor. She used to work for MOI6 before I recruited her. She'll teach you how to read a room, how to control a conversation, how to extract information without anyone realizing you're doing it. She hates me. She hates everyone. Don't take it personally. He paused at the door. One more thing. Rico made 3 phone calls this morning, 2 to the Cordovas, 1 to your sister. Her blood went cold. What? He's looking for leverage, trying to figure out where you went. Your sister didn't answer. She's at work. But he left a message. Fairly standard threats. I've already assigned protection to her. She won't even know they're there. You can't just... I can. I did. She's safe. Focus on your part. He opened the door. 3 weeks, Ilara. That's how long you have to become someone the Cordovas will underestimate. Someone who can stand in their world and smile while you burn it down from the inside. Think you can manage that? She thought about Rico's hands, about her father's debts, about 11 months of fear and bruises and swallowing screams, about her sister who'd done nothing wrong except share DNA with a man who'd made terrible choices. Yes, she said. Then let's get to work. The next 3 weeks blurred together like a fever dream. Catherine was a nightmare dressed in designer clothing. She critiqued everything. Ilara's posture, her word choice, the way she held a wine glass, the angle of her smile. They practiced conversations in empty conference rooms, Catherine playing various Cordova family members, while Ilara tried not to flinch every time the woman's voice turned sharp. You're apologizing again, Catherine snapped on day 4. Stop apologizing. It makes you weak. Sorry, You just did it again. Ilara gritted her teeth. I'll work on it. You'll eliminate it, completely, tonight, or we start over tomorrow. They didn't start over. Ilara learned fast, partly because Catherine was terrifying, partly because failure meant going back to Rico's world. And that wasn't an option anymore. She learned how to navigate formal dinners without looking lost, how to deflect personal questions, How to extract information through casual small talk. How to read body language, spot lies, identify power dynamics in a room full of people pretending equality. At night, she studied the Cordova files until her eyes burned, memorized faces, names, relationships, learned who owed who hated who, where the fractures in the family ran deep enough to exploit. Voss appeared periodically, observing her lessons, offering corrections that were somehow more devastating than Catherine's open criticism. He didn't waste words. When he spoke, she listened. "You're still moving like prey," he said during week 2. Shoulders back, chin up. "You're not apologizing for existing anymore." She adjusted her posture. "Better. But you're thinking too hard. It needs to be automatic, reflexive." He circled her like a shark. "When Vincent Cordova looks at you, what does he see? A threat. Wrong. He sees a woman who used to fuck his employee. He sees weakness he can exploit. He sees an opportunity to embarrass me by taking back what he thinks is his." Voss stopped in front of her. "You need to make him see something else. Make him see someone who chose to leave. Someone who's thriving without him. Someone who's so far beyond his reach that trying to grab you would make him look pathetic." "How?" "By believing it yourself." He adjusted her collar with clinical precision. "You're not pretending to be confident. You're not faking strength. You genuinely don't give a fuck about Rico anymore because you've seen what real power looks like, and his version is a child's crayon drawing compared to the architecture I'm building. That's what you project. That's what makes him scared." Day 12. Alara learned how to shoot. Voss took her to a private range in a building she suspected didn't officially exist, handed her a Glock 19. "I don't want to kill anyone," she said. "Neither do I. But you need to know how, just in case wanting and needing stop being different things." He showed her the stance, the grip, the breathing technique. "The goal isn't to be a marksman. The goal is to not freeze if someone pulls a weapon." She fired. The kick surprised her, but she didn't drop it. Again, she fired until her hand stopped shaking, until the target downrange looked less like paper and more like every man who'd ever made her feel small. Day 15. The dress arrived. Not the package Voss had mentioned, an actual delivery, garment bag, shoebox, jewelry case. She opened it carefully, half expecting something ridiculous. The dress was perfect. Black, simple, elegant, the kind of thing that cost more than most people's monthly rent, but didn't scream about it. It fit like it had been designed specifically for her body, which it probably had. She tried it on, stared at her reflection. The woman looking back wasn't Alara Quinn, Waitress. Wasn't Alara Quinn, victim. "Who are you?" she asked the mirror. The mirror didn't answer, but something in her chest shifted, settled, hardened into something that felt almost like certainty. Day 18. Voss took her to dinner at the Vermilion. The same restaurant, the same booth where she'd spilled espresso on him. But this time she walked in through the front door wearing designer clothes, head high, no longer invisible. The staff stared. The floor manager went pale. She ignored them all, slid into the booth across from Voss like she'd done it 1,000 times. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Different? Good different or terrifying different?" "Both." She accepted a wine list from a waiter who'd never looked at her directly when she'd worked there. "Is this a test?" "Everything's a test." Voss ordered for both of them without looking at the menu. "But this one's simple. You're here to prove to yourself that you're not the same person who left, that you can sit in this room and feel nothing." "I don't feel nothing." "What do you feel?" She considered. "Powerful." His expression shifted, something that might have been approval. "Excellent. Hold on to that." They ate, talked about nothing important, and when they left, Alara noticed the floor manager watching from the kitchen doorway, looking like he'd seen a ghost. Day 20. Catherine declared her ready. "You'll still make mistakes," the woman said. "You'll still be scared, but you won't show it, and that's what matters." She handed Alara a phone. "This is your lifeline. Voss will be monitoring. If anything goes wrong, if you feel unsafe, you press the button on the side 3 times fast. We'll extract you." "What if I can't get to my phone?" "Then you improvise." Catherine's expression softened just slightly. "You're stronger than you think. Don't waste time doubting yourself." Day 21. The morning of the gala. Alara woke early, adrenaline already flooding her system. dressed carefully, applied makeup the way Catherine had taught her, subtle, expensive looking, nothing too dramatic. Pulled her hair back in a style that looked effortless but had taken 30 minutes to perfect. Voss knocked at noon. "Ready?" he asked. "No." "Good. People who think they're ready get sloppy." He handed her a folder, thin, just a few pages. "Updated intel from this morning. Vincent Cordova will definitely be there, so will Chen. Marcus is still confirmed. Rico is not on the guest list, but he might show up anyway. If he does, you ignore him, completely. Let me handle it." "What if he makes a scene?" "Then he makes a scene. You stay calm. You stay elegant. You remind everyone in that room that you're above him now." Voss checked his watch. "Car leaves at 6. Gala starts at 7. We arrive at 7:30, late enough to make an entrance, early enough to catch the main crowd." "And the debt payment?" "I'll handle the logistics. You just need to stand there and look unbothered when I do it." He moved toward the door. "This is it, Alara. Everything we've worked toward. Everything we've planned. Tonight, the Cordovas learned that their control was always an illusion. That you were never really theirs. That I can take anything I want from them, and there's nothing they can do about it. What if they try to kill you? They won't. Not at their own event. Too many witnesses." He paused. "But if they try to kill you, that's a different calculation. Stay close to me. Don't accept drinks from strangers. Don't go anywhere alone. And remember, I'm not prey anymore," she finished. "Exactly." He left her standing there, dress hanging on the closet door, city spreading out below like a game board waiting for her next move. The car ride felt too short. Alara sat beside Voss in silence, watching the city lights stream past, feeling the weight of the moment pressing down on her shoulders. She'd rehearsed this, practiced every possible conversation, every potential confrontation. But rehearsal was different from reality, and reality was currently pulling up to a building that looked like someone had decided to make a museum out of money. The gala venue was stunning, all marble and gold, chandeliers that probably cost more than small countries, people in evening wear that sparkled under lights designed to make everyone look like they'd been carved from expensive materials. Voss offered his arm. She took it. They walked in together. The room went quiet. Not completely. Too many people. Too much ambient noise. But she felt the shift, saw heads turn, heard conversations pause mid-word. They were looking at her, trying to figure out who she was, why she was on Adrian Voss's arm, whether they should know her name. "Breathe," Voss murmured. She was holding her breath. She released it slowly, forced her shoulders to relax, remembered Catherine's endless corrections. "You belong here. You're not asking permission. You're claiming space." They moved through the crowd. Voss greeted people with minimal warmth, handshakes, nods, brief exchanges that conveyed politeness without friendship. Alara smiled when appropriate, said nothing, let her presence speak for itself. And then she saw him. Vincent Cordova stood near the bar, surrounded by men in expensive suits who looked like they'd kill you for looking at them wrong. He was taller than his photos suggested, broader through the shoulders, with the kind of face that might have been handsome if not for the coldness behind his eyes. He was staring directly at her. Voss felt her tense. Easy. He knows. Of course he knows. That's the point. Voss guided her toward the bar, not away from Vincent, but directly toward him. "Follow my lead." They approached. The men around Vincent shifted, creating space, bodies angling defensively. Vincent didn't move, just watched them get closer, expression unreadable. "Mr. Cordova?" Voss said pleasantly. "Thank you for the invitation." "Voss," Vincent's voice was rougher than she'd expected. "I don't remember inviting you." "Your uncle did. I'm sure it's in your records." Voss gestured casually. "This is Alara Quinn." Vincent's gaze locked on her, and she felt something predatory flicker behind his eyes. Recognition, calculation, anger. "Quinn," he repeated slowly, "you look familiar." "I have one of those faces," she said. Calm, even. Exactly how Catherine had taught her. "No, I definitely know you from somewhere." Vincent stepped closer. Too close. Invasive close. "You used to work for one of my people, didn't you?" "I used to work at a restaurant," Alara corrected. "But I don't anymore." "Right, because you found better opportunities." His smile didn't reach his eyes. Funny how opportunities like that just appear, isn't it? Funny how some people recognize them and others don't, Voss said mildly. The temperature in the immediate area dropped about 10 degrees. Vincent's jaw tightened. We need to talk, privately. I'm not interested in private conversations. Voss accepted a champagne flute from a passing waiter. Anything you need to say can be said here. I don't think you understand. I understand perfectly. Voss sipped his drink. You believe you have leverage over Ms. Quinn due to a debt incurred by her late father. You assigned an associate to monitor her, control her, ensure compliance. That associate failed to do his job adequately, which reflects poorly on your operational oversight. And now you're wondering how to salvage a situation that's already lost. Vincent's face went red. The men around him shifted, hands moving toward jacket pockets. Ilara's pulse spiked. This was it. The moment where everything either held together or exploded. Careful, Voss said quietly. We're at a charity event, surrounded by 200 witnesses, including 6 federal judges, 4 senators, and the police commissioner. Draw a weapon here, and you won't make it to the parking lot. You think you're untouchable, Vincent hissed. I think I'm significantly better at this than you are. Voss set down his glass. Which brings us to why we're having this conversation. Ms. Quinn's father owed your family $300,000. By your calculations, that debt has grown to $473,000. I'm prepared to settle it. Tonight. In full. With interest. The men around Vincent exchanged glances. This wasn't how these things worked. Debts like that were leverage, not financial instruments. It's not about the money, Vincent said. Everything's about money. Voss pulled out his phone, typed something quick. I'm transferring $600,000 to your family's operating account right now. Call it $500 to settle the debt and another $100 for your trouble. You can't just... I can do whatever I want. Voss showed him the screen. Transfer complete. Check your accounts. The debt is settled. Ms. Quinn is no longer your concern, and if any of your people approach her again, I'll consider it a breach of our agreement and respond accordingly. Vincent looked like he wanted to commit murder on the spot. His hand actually moved toward his jacket. Every muscle in Ilara's body tensed, ready to run, ready to fight, ready for whatever came next. But Voss didn't flinch, didn't move, just stood there with the kind of absolute certainty that made violence feel pointless. Finally, Vincent's hand dropped. This isn't over, he said. Yes, it is. Voss took Ilara's arm. Enjoy your evening, Mr. Cordova, and please thank your uncle for the invitation. They walked away, slowly, deliberately. Every step measured and controlled, even though Ilara's legs were shaking so hard she could barely keep herself upright. They didn't speak until they'd crossed the room, until they were surrounded by other guests, until Vincent was lost in the crowd behind them. You okay? Voss asked quietly. I think I'm going to throw up. Not here. Maintain. His grip on her arm tightened, steadying her. You did perfectly, exactly right. He was trying to intimidate you and you didn't give him anything. He was going to pull a gun, but he didn't, because he knew he'd lose. Voss grabbed 2 fresh glasses of champagne, handed her one. Drink, slowly. Calm your nervous system. We're almost done. Almost? One more thing. He nodded toward the far side of the room, where an older man stood surrounded by a protective circle of subordinates. Marcus Cordova, the patriarch. We need to make sure he saw what just happened. He definitely saw. Seeing isn't enough. He needs to acknowledge it. Come on. They approached Marcus with the same controlled calm they'd shown Vincent. The old man watched them come, expression neutral, eyes calculating in a way that made Ilara understand exactly how he'd survived decades in a business where most people didn't make it to 30. Mr. Voss, Marcus said. His voice was surprisingly gentle, grandfatherly, completely at odds with everything she knew about him. I heard you just made a rather generous donation to our family accounts. Settling an outstanding debt, Voss corrected. Nothing generous about honoring financial obligations. Of course. Marcus looked at Ilara. And you must be Thomas Quinn's daughter. I am. Your father was a good man, made some unfortunate choices, but a good man nonetheless. The old man sipped his drink. I hope you understand that business between our families was never personal. I understand that using someone's child as collateral is always personal, she said. The protective circle tensed. Marcus raised a hand slightly, and they relaxed. Fair point. Something that might have been respect flickered across his face. Vincent is impulsive, overzealous. He makes decisions I wouldn't make if consulted, but he's family, so I support him. You understand family, yes? I understand that family doesn't give you permission to hurt people, Alara said. Voss squeezed her arm, a warning. She'd gone too far, said too much, but Marcus just smiled. You have spirit. I appreciate that. He looked at Voss. She's going to be trouble for you. I'm counting on it, Voss replied. Then we understand each other. Marcus raised his glass in a small toast. The debt is settled. Ms. Quinn is free of obligation to my family, and we have no further business regarding this matter. Agreed? Agreed. They touched glasses. The sound was delicate, crystalline, final. However, Marcus continued, lowering his voice, I should mention that Rico Dane is no longer in our employment. He was released this morning due to operational failures. Where he goes from here is not my concern. But I thought you should know he's angry, unstable, and he knows you're here tonight. Alara's blood went cold. What? He's been making threats, saying you belong to him, saying he's going to take you back, one way or another. Marcus's expression remained neutral. I'm telling you this as a courtesy. What you do with the information is your business, but I'd recommend increased security for the next few weeks, just until he calms down or finds something else to focus on. He won't find me, Alara said. People like Rico always find what they're looking for. It's just a question of whether they survive the finding. Marcus nodded to Voss. Enjoy the rest of your evening. They were dismissed. Voss guided her away, back toward the edges of the room, his expression dark. He's not warning us, Alara said quietly. He's threatening us. He's covering his ass. If Rico does something violent, Marcus can claim he tried to prevent it. Plausible deniability. Voss pulled out his phone, sent a rapid series of messages. I'm doubling security at the apartment, and you're not leaving my sight for the rest of the night. Rico can't get in here. Rico doesn't need to get in here. He just needs to wait for us to leave. Voss scanned the crowd, gaze sharp, looking for threats. Marcus released him on purpose. Let him loose like a rabid dog, knowing he'd come after you. If Rico succeeds in hurting you, Marcus gets revenge for tonight's humiliation without getting his hands dirty. If Rico fails, Marcus still wins because you and I are distracted, vulnerable, focused on the wrong threat. What's the right threat? Vincent. Voss kept moving, keeping them in motion, never staying in one place too long. He's the ambitious one, the one who will make a move while we're busy dealing with Rico. And that's what Marcus is counting on. That we'll be so focused on the obvious danger, we won't see the real one coming. Alara's head spun. This is insane. This is power. Voss stopped near a window overlooking the city. Every conversation is a move. Every gesture carries weight. You can't just live in this world. You have to think 3 steps ahead of everyone else, or you end up like your father, dead, with debts your children have to pay. She looked out at the city. Somewhere down there, Rico was hunting for her, planning, angry, desperate. What do we do? She asked. We finish the night. We show everyone here that we're not scared, that the Cordovas can throw whatever they want at us and we'll still be standing. He checked his watch. 2 more hours, then we leave. Together. We go straight to the car. We don't stop for anyone. And we deal with Rico when he makes his move. When, not if. He'll make his move. Men like that always do. Voss's expression hardened. The question is whether he survives it. The next 2 hours crawled past like broken glass. Alara smiled, talked, accepted compliments on her dress, pretended to care about charity initiatives and foundation work and all the elaborate theater rich people performed to convince themselves they were good. But her mind was elsewhere, running through scenarios, calculating escape routes, wondering if Rico was already outside, waiting in the dark with whatever weapon he'd managed to get his hands on. At midnight, Voss touched her elbow. Time to go. They made their way to the exit. The crowd had thinned, some people already left, others too drunk to notice departures. Security at the door nodded as they passed. Outside, the November air hit like a slap, cold, sharp, the kind of cold that cleared your head and made you hyper-aware of every sound. The car was waiting, same black vehicle, same driver. Voss opened the door for her, scanned the street while she got in, then slid in beside her. "Drive," he told the driver. "Standard route. Watch for tails." They pulled into traffic. Alara watched the city slide past, buildings reflecting streetlights, pedestrians bundled against the cold, taxis hunting for fares. Everything looked normal. Safe. Then she saw him. Rico stood on the corner of Park and 63rd, hands in his jacket pockets, staring directly at their car as it passed. Their eyes met for just a second, one frozen moment where she saw everything that had been and everything that was coming. He smiled. Then he was gone, lost in the crowd, and Alara's heart was hammering so hard she thought it might crack her ribs. "He was there," she whispered. "I saw him." Voss was already on his phone. "He's following us. Probably has a car. Driver, take the next right. We're going to lose him." The car turned sharply, tires squealing slightly. Another turn, then another. They were weaving through side streets now, moving fast but not recklessly, putting distance between them and whoever might be giving chase. Alara twisted in her seat, looking through the rear window. "I don't see anyone." "That doesn't mean they're not there." Voss kept his phone pressed to his ear. "Yeah, northeast corner, 2-car intercept, make it clean." "What are you doing?" Alara asked. "Ending this." He ended the call. "Rico's been following us since we left the gala. He's in a gray sedan 3 cars back. My people are going to cut him off, extract him, and we're going to have a conversation about boundaries." "You're going to kill him." "I'm going to give him a choice. Stop, or I'll stop him." Voss looked at her directly. "What would you prefer? That he keeps coming after you forever? That every time you leave the apartment, you have to wonder if this is the day he catches up?" She thought about 11 months of fear, about bruises and broken promises and sleeping with one eye open, always listening for footsteps, always waiting for the next explosion. "I want him gone," she said. "Then he's gone." Voss nodded to the driver. "Take us home." Check. They were 3 blocks from the apartment when it happened. The gray sedan came out of nowhere. From an alley, from a side street, Alara couldn't tell. It just appeared, engine roaring, accelerating hard, aimed directly at their passenger side door. "Brace!" Voss started. Impact. The world became noise and motion and shattered glass. Their car spun, tires shrieking, momentum carrying them into a parked delivery truck. Metal crumpled. Airbags deployed with violent force. Alara's head snapped forward, then back, pain exploding through her neck and shoulders. Then silence. She couldn't hear anything except ringing. Her vision swam. Blood ran down her face from somewhere. She couldn't tell where. The airbag pressed against her chest like a suffocating weight. "Alara!" Voss's voice, distant and distorted. "Alara, can you hear me?" She managed to nod, tasted copper, realized she'd bitten her tongue. "We need to move. Now." He was pulling at his seatbelt, shoving the airbag aside. "Driver's unconscious. Rico's coming. Move." She tried to unbuckle. Her hands weren't working right. Everything felt disconnected, like her brain was sending signals, but her body wasn't receiving them. Voss reached across her, popped the belt, shoved open her door from the inside. Cold air rushed in. He pulled her out of the wreckage, and she stumbled on shaking legs, trying to process what had just happened. The gray sedan sat 30 feet away, front end crumpled, steam rising from the hood. The driver's door opened. Rico climbed out. He looked wrong. Face flushed, eyes too bright. Moving with the jerky, uncontrolled energy of someone who'd crossed a line and couldn't find their way back. He had something in his hand, dark, angular, unmistakable. A gun. "You bitch!" he screamed. "You fucking bitch! You think you can just leave? Think you can just walk away like I don't matter?" Voss stepped in front of Alara, positioning his body between her and Rico. "Put the gun down." Fuck you and your money and your power and your bullshit." Rico was crying now, tears streaming down his face, weapon shaking in his grip. "She's mine. I made her. I controlled her. You can't just take her." "I didn't take her. She left." Voss's voice was perfectly calm. "And she's not going back." "Yes, she is." Rico raised the gun. "She's coming with me right now, or I'm putting a bullet in your head and taking her anyway." "Rico, please," Alara started. "Shut up." He swung the gun toward her. "You don't talk. You don't get to talk anymore. You're done making decisions. You're done pretending you have a choice. You're mine, and you're staying mine, and if I have to kill everyone in this city to prove it, I will. Sirens in the distance, getting closer. Someone had called the police. Rico heard them too. His expression shifted, panic mixing with rage, cornered animal desperation taking over whatever plan he'd thought he had. "We're leaving," he said. "Right now. Get in the car, or I start shooting." "No," Alara said. The word hung in the air like broken glass. Rico blinked. "What?" "No." She stepped out from behind Voss, legs still shaking, blood still running down her face, but standing straight, shoulders back, exactly how Catherine had taught her. "I'm not going with you. I'm not yours. I was never yours. You were just someone Marcus Cordova paid to keep me scared, and you're not even good at that anymore." "I'll kill you," Rico whispered. "Then do it." She heard the words leave her mouth and couldn't believe she was saying them. "Pull the trigger. Kill me right here. Prove to everyone watching that you're exactly what I said you are. A small, scared man who only feels powerful when he's hurting someone weaker." Rico's hand trembled. The gun wavered. "She's right." Voss's voice cut through the moment like a blade. "You lost. The second she got in my car that night, you lost. And everything you've done since then, breaking into her apartment, making threats, following her tonight, all of it just proves that you never had any real control at all. You were just pretending, and now the pretending is over." The sirens were close now, maybe 2 blocks away. Rico made a sound, half sob, half scream, pointed the gun at Voss, at Alara, back to Voss. "I loved you," he said to Alara. "I fucking loved you." "No, you didn't," she replied. "You loved controlling me. There's a difference." His finger tightened on the trigger. A shot rang out, but it didn't come from Rico's gun. He jerked, stumbled, dropped the weapon. Blood spread across his shoulder, dark, wet, immediate. He fell to his knees, clutching the wound, looking around in confusion for whoever had shot him. Voss's driver stood beside the wrecked car, service weapon raised, expression blank. "Target neutralized," he said into his phone, like he was reporting weather. Police cars screamed around the corner, lights painting everything in alternating red and blue. Officers poured out, weapons drawn, shouting instructions that became white noise in Alara's ears. She stood there, watching Rico bleed on the pavement, watching police surround him, watching paramedics arrive and load him onto a stretcher, watching the whole violent mess of the last 11 months reduced to flashing lights and police tape and witness statements. Voss touched her elbow gently. "We need to go. They'll want statements, but my lawyer will handle it. Come on." She let him guide her to a car that had appeared from somewhere, backup, probably, part of whatever network he maintained for situations exactly like this. They got in. The door closed. The chaos became distant, manageable, something happening to other people. "Is he going to die?" she asked. "No. Shoulder wound. He'll survive. Then he'll go to prison for attempted murder, assault with a deadly weapon, and about 6 other charges my lawyer is currently inventing." Voss handed her a handkerchief for the blood on her face. "It's over, Alara. Really over. Rico can't touch you. The Cordovas can't touch you. You're free." She pressed the fabric to her forehead, felt the sting of the cut there. Free. The word should have felt good. Should have felt like relief, like victory, like the end of something terrible. Instead, it felt like the beginning of something worse. Because she'd seen Voss's driver shoot Rico without hesitation. Had watched Voss orchestrate the whole thing with the calm precision of someone who'd done this before, who had systems in place for making problems disappear, who controlled pieces on a board she couldn't even see the edges of. She'd escaped one cage. But she wasn't sure she hadn't just walked into another. "What happens now?" she asked quietly. Voss looked at her. Really looked at her. Not the way Rico had looked at her, with ownership and possession. Not the way Vincent had looked at her, with calculation and threat. Something else. Something almost like recognition. "Now," he said, "you decide who you want to become." The car pulled into traffic, carrying them away from the wreckage, away from the flashing lights, away from every version of Alara Quinn that had existed before tonight. And as the city lights blurred past the windows, she realized the truth. She'd been saved. But salvation came with a price she hadn't finished paying yet. The apartment felt different when they got back. Same furniture, Same windows overlooking the city. Same expensive silence that came with living 50 floors above the noise. But something had shifted in the air, or maybe it had shifted in Ilara, and now everything looked wrong through different eyes. Voss's doctor arrived within 20 minutes. A woman in her 50s who asked no questions, just cleaned the cut on Ilara's forehead with efficient hands and declared it superficial. No concussion, no stitches needed, just butterfly bandages and instructions to rest. "You were lucky," the doctor said, packing up her kit. Ilara didn't feel lucky. She felt like she'd been hit by a truck, which technically she had. Voss walked the doctor out, their voices low in the hallway. When he returned, he'd loosened his tie, rolled up his sleeves. There was blood on his cuff, hers or his, she couldn't tell. He looked tired, actually tired. The first real crack in that perfect composure she'd seen since the night they met. "You should sleep," he said. "I should leave." He stopped, turned to face her fully. "Where would you go?" "I don't know. Anywhere that isn't here." She gestured at the apartment, at the windows, at the whole pristine cage he'd built around her. "You said I was free, so I'm leaving." "You are free. But leaving right now would be stupid." He poured himself a drink, whiskey, neat, the kind that cost more per ounce than most people made in an hour. "Rico's in custody, but the Cordovas aren't done. Vincent is going to be furious when he hears what happened tonight. He's going to see this as escalation, not resolution. And Marcus, I don't care about Marcus. I don't care about Vincent. I don't care about any of this." Her voice rose, and she didn't try to stop it. "You pulled me into a war I didn't ask for, turned me into bait, put me in front of people who wanted me dead. And now you're telling me I can't leave because it would be stupid?" "Yes." He said it flatly. No apology, no softening. "That's exactly what I'm telling you." "Fuck you. Feel better?" He sipped his drink, watching her over the rim of the glass. "You can scream at me all you want. Throw things if it helps. But you're not walking out that door tonight. Not until I know you're safe." "I was safe before I met you. You were dying before you met me." He set down the glass hard enough that it cracked against the marble countertop. Slowly, quietly, one bruise at a time. Rico was killing you in installments, and you were letting him because you didn't know how to fight back. I taught you how to fight back. You taught me how to be a weapon. Same thing." She stared at him, really looked at him for the first time without the performance, without the careful mask he wore in public. He looked older up close, lines around his eyes, silver threading through the dark hair at his temples, scars on his knuckles that suggested he hadn't always solved problems with paperwork. "Who are you?" she asked quietly. "Adrian Voss, age 43, net worth north of $2 billion, depending on the market. CEO of, yeah, that's not what I mean." She moved closer, forcing him to meet her eyes. "Who are you? Really? Because the man who pays off debts and makes phone calls and controls everything from a distance, that's a story you tell people. But the man who had a driver ready to shoot someone without hesitation, who orchestrates car accidents and police raids and makes people disappear, that's someone else. So who the fuck are you?" He was quiet for a long moment. Outside, the city glittered like scattered glass. "I'm the person who does what needs to be done," he said finally. "No more, no less." "That's not an answer. It's the only answer you're getting tonight." He picked up his glass, examined the crack running through it. "You want to know my origin story? Fine. I grew up in a place that makes your old neighborhood look like paradise. My father drank himself to death by the time I was 12. My mother worked 3 jobs and still couldn't keep the lights on. I learned early that the world is divided into 2 kinds of people, those who take and those who get taken from. I decided which side I wanted to be on, and I've never looked back." "So you became a criminal." "I became successful. The methods are irrelevant." He tossed back the rest of his drink. "You think legitimate businessmen don't destroy lives? They do it every day. They just use lawyers instead of guns, bankruptcy instead of bullets. I'm honest about what I am. That's the only difference." "You're justifying." "I'm explaining. There's a difference." He moved past her toward the windows. "You asked who I am. I'm someone who saw an opportunity when you spilled coffee on me. Someone who recognized that a scared waitress with the right motivation could become something useful, Someone who's been running calculations since the moment we met, trying to figure out exactly what kind of asset you could be. The word hit like cold water. Asset. Yes. Asset, tool, investment. Whatever word makes you feel better about the transaction we've been engaged in for the past 3 weeks. He didn't turn around, just kept staring at the city like it was a puzzle he was trying to solve. I didn't save you out of kindness, Ilara. I saved you because you were connected to something I wanted. And now that connection is active, and walking away would waste everything we've built. We haven't built anything. You've built something. I've just been standing here watching. Then start participating. He turned to face her. Stop pretending you're innocent in this. Stop acting like you didn't know exactly what you were agreeing to when you got in my car. You wanted out of your life badly enough to trust a stranger. You wanted power badly enough to learn how to use it. You wanted revenge badly enough to stand in front of Vincent Cordova and smile while I burned his leverage to ashes. So stop lying to yourself about what you are. And what am I? Someone who's finally done being a victim. His eyes were ice-chip cold again, all the momentary warmth gone. Someone who has a choice right now. Walk out that door and go back to being nobody, or stay here and become someone the Cordovas will remember for the rest of their lives. Choose fast, because I don't have time for indecision. Her hands clenched into fists. Everything in her wanted to scream, to throw something, to make him feel even a fraction of the chaos churning in her chest. But another part, the part that had learned from Catherine, that had stood in front of Marcus Cordova without flinching, that part knew he was right. She had chosen this. Every step of the way. I need air, she said. Terrace is through there. He gestured to a door she hadn't noticed before. Don't lean over the railing. It's a long way down. She walked outside into the November cold. The terrace wrapped around the corner of the building, glass barriers protecting against the wind but doing nothing for the temperature. She could see the whole city from here. Light spreading in every direction, cars moving like blood cells through arteries, millions of lives happening simultaneously, most of them oblivious to the violence unfolding in the spaces between buildings. Somewhere down there, Rico was in a hospital bed, handcuffed to the frame, probably already talking to lawyers about pressing charges. Except he wouldn't press charges, because pressing charges meant admitting why he'd been following her, which meant admitting his connection to the Cordovas, which meant a much longer prison sentence than he was ready for. Voss had planned for that too. Of course he had. The door opened behind her. She didn't turn around. I had my first kill when I was 19, Voss said quietly. Guy who tried to rob the convenience store where I worked. Pulled a knife. Told me to empty the register. I grabbed a bottle from the shelf, Jack Daniels, I think, and hit him hard enough to crack his skull. He died 3 days later. Never woke up. Ilara's breath caught. Why are you telling me this? Because you're wondering if I'm a monster, and I want you to understand that monsters are just people who made different choices under pressure. He came to stand beside her, close enough that she could feel his body heat against the cold. The police called it self-defense. I walked free. But I learned something that night. Violence isn't personal. It's just a tool. And the people who hesitate are the ones who die. I don't want to be like you. Then leave. He said it simply. Right now. Walk out. Go back to waitressing. Find a nice guy who works in IT and doesn't hit you. Build a safe, small life where nothing interesting ever happens. It's a valid choice. Billions of people make it every day. But you won't be happy. Because you've seen what the other side looks like. You've tasted power. You've felt what it's like to walk into a room and have people notice you exist. And once you've felt that, everything else tastes like cardboard. He was right. She hated that he was right. What do you want from me? She asked. I want you to decide, commit or leave. But stop standing in the middle acting like you don't know which direction to move. She turned to face him. What happens if I stay? We finish what we started. The Cordovas think tonight was the end. It wasn't. It was just the opening move. Vincent is going to retaliate, probably within the next 48 hours. When he does, we'll be ready. And when the smoke clears, they'll be broken, and you'll be the one who broke them. How? I haven't figured that part out yet. The corner of his mouth twitched, almost a smile. But I will. I always do. She looked back at the city. Thought about her apartment with the broken mirror and the blood stain she'd scrubbed out of the carpet. Thought about her sister, who still lived one paycheck away from disaster. Thought about every man who'd ever looked through her like she was furniture, every moment she'd made herself small to survive. Every night she'd gone to sleep wondering if this was all life would ever be. I want them destroyed, she said. Not just beaten, destroyed. I want Vincent to lose everything. I want Marcus to die knowing his empire collapsed. I want every person who ever used my father's debt as an excuse to hurt me to wake up one day and find their world turned to ash. That's ambitious. You said I should participate. That's my participation. Total annihilation or nothing. Voss was quiet for a moment. Then he laughed. Actual genuine laughter that sounded strange coming from him, like hearing a statue speak. Okay, he said. We can work with that. They stood there in the cold, looking out at a city that belonged to neither of them, but that they were both trying to conquer in different ways. And for the first time since getting in his car 3 weeks ago, Alara felt something other than fear or anger or confusion. She felt purpose. I need to sleep, she said. Real sleep. Tomorrow we plan. Tomorrow we plan, he agreed. She went inside, leaving him on the terrace with his thoughts and his secrets and whatever calculations he was running behind those ice-chip eyes. She woke to sunlight streaming through windows and the smell of coffee. For a disoriented moment, she thought she was back in her old apartment, that everything, Voss, the gala, Rico, had been some elaborate nightmare. Then she saw the bedroom, the expensive sheets, the city spreading out below like a kingdom waiting to be claimed, and reality reasserted itself with crushing weight. Someone had laid out clothes on the chair by the window, not the formal wear from last night, just jeans and a sweater, simple and clean. There was a note on top. Catherine wants to see you. 10 a.m. Don't be late. V. She checked her phone. 9:17 a.m. Shit. She dressed fast, grabbed coffee from the kitchen, Voss was nowhere to be seen, and made it downstairs just as the car pulled up. Same driver as last night, though his shoulder was in a sling now. He nodded at her like shooting someone was just another Tuesday. Maybe for him it was. Catherine's office was in a different building, smaller, but somehow more intimidating. All dark wood and leather, the kind of place where confessions were extracted and secrets were buried. The woman herself sat behind a desk that looked like it had witnessed 1,000 interrogations, reading something on a tablet with the focus of a surgeon examining x-rays. You're late, she said without looking up. I'm 3 minutes early. Which means you're late. Sit down. Alara sat. The chair was deliberately uncomfortable, slightly too low, slightly too hard, positioned so the light was in her eyes. Every detail designed to put visitors at a disadvantage. Catherine set down the tablet. You're alive. Barely. Barely is sufficient. The older woman stood, circled the desk, perched on the edge so she was looking down at Alara. Adrian called me at 4 a.m., told me what happened. Rico, the car accident, the shooting, all very dramatic. It wasn't supposed to be dramatic. Nothing involving the Cordovas is ever supposed to be dramatic. That's the problem with criminals. They lack subtlety. Catherine crossed her arms. Do you know why Adrian chose you? He told me. I was connected to the Cordovas. Useful. That's what he tells himself. It's not the truth. She leaned forward. Adrian Voss is the most controlled person I've ever met. He doesn't act on impulse. He doesn't make emotional decisions. Every move is calculated 3 steps ahead, except with you. I don't understand. He saw you spill that coffee, saw the bruises, and made a choice in less than 5 seconds. No research, no background check, no risk assessment, just pure instinct. Do you know how rare that is for him? Why are you telling me this? Because you need to understand what you're dealing with. Adrian thinks he's using you, but people who act on instinct aren't using anyone. They're reacting to something they don't fully understand, and that makes them dangerous to themselves and everyone around them. Alara's mouth went dry. You think he's going to hurt me? I think he doesn't know what he wants from you, which means you're in a position to define it yourself. Before he does? Catherine moved back to her desk, pulled out a folder. Vincent Cordova made 3 phone calls this morning, one to his lawyer, one to his uncle, one to someone we haven't identified yet. Burner phone, encrypted line. That 3rd call lasted 47 minutes. What does that mean? It means he's planning something big, something he doesn't want Marcus to know about, something that requires outside help. She opened the folder, spread photos across the desk. These were taken an hour ago outside a warehouse in Red Hook. The photos showed men loading crates into trucks. Not unusual, except for the way they moved. Too careful, too nervous, constantly checking over their shoulders. "What am I looking at?" Ilara asked. "Insurance. Vincent is moving assets, liquidating product, converting everything to cash that can disappear fast." Catherine tapped one photo. "This man here? Recognize him?" Ilara leaned closer. The face was familiar, older than she remembered, heavier, but definitely the same person. "Chen. My father's old partner." "Correct. Which means the Cordovas are using Chen's shipping company to move whatever they're moving, and if Vincent is liquidating, it means he's preparing for war." Catherine closed the folder. "Adrian thinks he can control this, manage it from a distance with phone calls and financial pressure. He's wrong. Vincent is going to do something violent, something public, something designed to make Adrian look weak. And when that happens, you need to be ready." "Ready for what?" "To choose which side you're actually on." Catherine's eyes were sharp as broken glass. "Because right now, you're standing in the middle. You're not Adrian's ally, you're his project. You're not the Cordova's enemy, you're their escaped property. You're nobody's priority except your own. So when things get ugly, and they will get ugly, who are you going to protect?" "Myself." "Good answer. Wrong execution." Catherine stood. "Protecting yourself means having options. Right now you have none. You live in Adrian's apartment. You wear clothes he bought. You eat food he provides. You're dependent, which makes you vulnerable. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to start building your own network, your own resources, your own escape routes. Because the second Adrian decides you're more liability than asset, you'll have approximately 30 seconds to disappear before he solves the problem." He wouldn't. He killed a man with a whiskey bottle at 19, and that was before he had anything to lose. What do you think he'd do now? Catherine pulled out a business card, slid it across the desk. "This is my personal number, not the office line, not the emergency contact. The number I give to people I think might need to run someday. Keep it somewhere Adrian won't find it." Ilara took the card. Heavy stock. Just a phone number, no name. "Why are you helping me?" "Because I've seen this play out before. Adrian finds someone interesting, uses them, discards them when they stop being useful. Usually they end up dead or disappeared. I'd prefer you didn't." Catherine moved to the door, opened it. "Now get out. You have training at noon. Don't be late to that either." Mate. Training turned out to be another session with Catherine, this time focused on something she called social engineering, which apparently meant lying convincingly while extracting information from people who were also lying convincingly. "Pretend I'm Vincent's accountant," Catherine said. "You're at a party. Make me tell you where he banks." "I don't even know how to start that conversation." "Then figure it out, fast." Catherine adopted a different posture, slightly slouched, drink in hand, the universal body language of someone bored at a networking event. "Clock's running." Ilara took a breath, thought about the past 3 weeks, about every lesson, every correction, every moment she'd been forced to pretend confidence she didn't feel. "Terrible party," she said, moving into Catherine's space. "These charity things are always the same. Rich people congratulating themselves for caring." "At least the wine is decent," Catherine replied, staying in character. "Is it?" "I can never tell. My financial advisor keeps recommending expensive bottles, but I think he's just trying to impress me." She paused. "You look like someone who actually knows the difference." "Finance background?" Catherine's eyes flickered. Approval. "Accounting. Boring stuff." "Boring is underrated. I'm drowning in advisors who want to be exciting. All I want is someone who'll tell me if my money's actually safe." Ilara leaned closer, lowering her voice. "Off the record, where do you keep yours?" "I'm thinking of moving banks. Current place keeps getting hacked." "Offshore," Catherine said, then broke character. "Not bad. You established common ground, suggested vulnerability, then asked for advice instead of information. The target feels smart, feels helpful, doesn't realize they're giving you intelligence. Did it work?" "You'd need 3 more conversations to get specific bank details, but yes, you're learning." Catherine checked her watch. "Enough for today. Adrian wants you at dinner tonight, 7 p.m., formal wear. There will be guests." "What kind of guests?" "The kind who ask questions. Answer carefully." She gestured to the door. Go rest. You look exhausted. Alara was exhausted, bone deep, soul tired, the kind of fatigue that came from living in constant tension, never knowing when the next crisis would hit. The car took her back to the apartment. Voss was there when she arrived, sitting at the dining table with papers spread everywhere, phone pressed to his ear, speaking rapid-fire Mandarin to someone who sounded angry. He hung up when he saw her. How was Catherine? Terrifying. She's supposed to be. He gathered the papers into neat stacks. Vincent moved $2 million in product this morning. Cash transaction. Untraceable. He's preparing for something. Catherine showed me photos. I know. I sent them to her. He stood, rolled his shoulders like they'd been locked in position too long. Dinner tonight, 7 p.m. We're hosting 3 potential investors in a waterfront development project. They're legitimate businessmen, but they've all done deals with the Cordovas in the past. I want you there to observe. Tell me who's lying. How am I supposed to know that? Betrayal said. You're smarter than you think. Trust your instincts. He moved to the window, stared out at the city like he was searching for something. Vincent is going to make a move. Soon. I can feel it. And when he does, I need to know who we can trust and who's going to run to Marcus the second things get complicated. What kind of move? Something violent. Something designed to make me react emotionally instead of strategically. He's going to hit something I care about, try to provoke me into overreacting, then use that overreaction as justification for escalation. Voss turned to face her. The question is what I care about enough to react to. Properties? Properties are replaceable. Money is replaceable. His gaze locked on hers. People are harder to replace. The implication hung in the air between them. She was a target, not hypothetically. Actually. You think he's coming after me? I think you're the most visible vulnerability I have right now. A month ago, nobody knew you existed. Now everyone knows you're connected to me. That makes you a target. He pulled his phone out, showed her a screenshot of a social media post, photo from the gala, her standing beside him, caption speculating about who she was. This has been shared 4,000 times. Your face is out there. Your name is out there. And Vincent is absolutely paying attention. Her stomach dropped. I never agreed to this. You agreed the second you got in my car. Everything after that is just consequences. He pocketed the phone. I'm assigning 2 bodyguards. They'll rotate shifts, 12 hours each. One will be visible, one will be concealed. You won't go anywhere without them. I'm a prisoner. You're protected. There's a difference. He moved to the bar, poured 2 drinks, handed her one. Drink. It'll help with the nerves. She took it. The alcohol burned going down, but he was right. It did help. What if I just left? She asked. Disappeared. Went somewhere Vincent can't find me. He'd find you. Men like that always do. They have resources, connections, time, and they're patient when they want to be. Voss sipped his drink. The only way to be safe from Vincent is to make him too afraid to touch you, which means making him more afraid of me than he is ambitious, which means demonstrating that attacking you would cost him everything. How do you demonstrate that? Very publicly, very permanently. He finished his drink, set down the glass. But first we need to survive dinner. Go get ready. The dress is in your closet. Wear the diamond earrings. They make you look expensive. The dinner guests arrived at 7 exactly. 3 men in expensive suits, all around Voss's age, all carrying themselves with the particular confidence that came from having never been told no. They shook hands, exchanged pleasantries, complimented the view. Alara stood beside Voss, playing the role Catherine had drilled into her. Polite, intelligent, interested but not too interested. Just present enough to be noticed, not present enough to be threatening. Gentlemen, this is Alara Quinn, Voss said. Alara, meet David Chen, Marcus Holloway, and James Reeves. They're considering investing in the waterfront development. Chen. Same last name as her father's partner. Probably a relative, cousin, maybe, or nephew. She kept her expression neutral, shook his hand, smiled like she'd never heard the name before. They moved to the dining table. The meal was catered, something Italian, expensive, too much food for 5 people. Wine flowed. Conversation turned to business. The waterfront is risky, Chen said, cutting into his veal. Property values are unstable. Too many factors outside your control. Every investment is risky, Voss replied. The question is whether the potential return justifies the exposure. What kind of return are we talking about? Holloway asked. 30% over 5 years, 40 if we develop faster than projected. Reeves whistled low. That's aggressive. That's realistic. I don't pitch fantasies. Voss gestured to a folder beside his plate. Numbers are in there. Review them. Ask questions. But don't waste my time if you're not serious. The conversation continued. Alara listened, watched, paid attention to the things Catherine had taught her to notice. Who made eye contact when lying, who shifted in their seat during uncomfortable questions, who deflected instead of answering directly. Chen was nervous, kept touching his watch, checking his phone, glancing toward the door like he expected someone to burst in. Holloway was confident, too confident, the kind of confidence that came from having information other people didn't. Reeves was just greedy, eyes lighting up every time Voss mentioned profit margins. During dessert, Chen excused himself to the bathroom, was gone longer than necessary. When he came back, his phone was in his hand and he was typing something quickly. Alara caught Voss's eye, nodded slightly toward Chen. Voss's expression didn't change, but she saw understanding flicker there. He'd noticed too. After dinner, the men left with handshakes and promises to review the numbers. Voss closed the door behind them, waited 30 seconds, then turned to Alara. Chen's the leak, she said before he could ask. How do you know? He was terrified the whole night, kept checking his phone, left during dessert, and came back typing a message. My guess? He's reporting everything he hears directly to Vincent. Could be Marcus. Doesn't matter. Either way, he's not on our side. She moved to the table, started stacking plates. Holloway knows something we don't. He kept smiling during the risk assessment section. And Reeves is just greedy. He'll invest if the numbers work. Voss was quiet for a moment, studying her. You're good at this. Catherine trained me well. It's not just training. You have instincts. He pulled out his phone, made a call. Yeah, Chen is the problem. I need full surveillance. Phone, email, physical location. I want to know everyone he talks to and everything he says. No, don't approach him yet. Let him think he's being clever. Fine. Call me when you have something. He hung up. Looked at Alara. You should go to bed. Tomorrow's going to be complicated. Why? Because Chen is going to tell Vincent everything we discussed tonight, and Vincent is going to interpret our waterfront development as an invasion of Cordova territory, which means he's going to respond, probably violently. Voss moved to the window, hands in pockets, silhouetted against the city lights. Get some sleep while you can. Once things start moving, they move fast. She wanted to argue, wanted to demand more information, more preparation, more control over what was happening to her life. But she was tired, and he was right. Tomorrow would be complicated. So she went to bed and lay awake for hours, listening to the city breathe below, wondering which direction the storm would come from when it finally arrived. The storm came at 3 a.m. Alara woke to her phone buzzing, not ringing, buzzing, the pattern that meant emergency. She grabbed it, saw Voss's name. Glass building, now. Armed response. Stay in your room, lock the door. Her heart hammered. She rolled out of bed, locked the bedroom door, pressed her back against the wall away from the windows. Listened. Footsteps in the hallway. Fast. Multiple people. Voices. Voss's, sharp and commanding, and others she didn't recognize. Then gunfire. Not the single shots from movies. Rapid bursts that sounded like the world tearing apart. Glass shattered. Someone screamed. More footsteps, running now, chaos spilling through the apartment like floodwater. She grabbed the phone Catherine had given her, almost called, stopped herself. The door handle rattled. Alara, it's me. Open the door. Voss's voice, strained, breathing hard. She unlocked it, pulled it open. He stood there with a gun in one hand, blood on his shirt. His or someone else's, she couldn't tell. Behind him, the apartment looked like a war zone, furniture overturned, windows shattered, 2 bodies on the floor, neither of them moving. We need to go, he said, right now. What happened? Vincent sent a team, 4 men, professional. They came through the windows, rappelled down from the roof. He grabbed her arm, pulled her into the hallway. My security stopped them, but this was a message. He knows where you live. He knows you're vulnerable. and he's willing to kill you to hurt me. They ran for the elevator. It was out of service, probably cut during the attack. Stairs then. 50 floors down, her lungs burning, legs screaming, Voss's hand iron-tight around her wrist the whole way. They burst into the lobby. More bodies. Security personnel, blood on the marble. The doorman slumped against his desk, very clearly dead. Cars outside, Voss said. They ran into the November cold. A different vehicle this time. SUV, armored, windows tinted black. The driver had a rifle across his lap. They threw themselves into the back seat, and the car peeled out before the door was fully closed. "Where are we going?" Alara gasped. "Somewhere safe." Voss was on his phone again, barking orders to people she couldn't see. "Lock down all properties, full security protocols. I want everyone who worked tonight identified and compensated, and find out how they got to the roof. Someone gave them access." The car wove through empty streets. 3 a.m. Manhattan looked like a different city, still, quiet, most windows dark. They headed south, away from the expensive neighborhoods, toward areas where buildings pressed close together and streetlights flickered. "Who were those men?" Alara asked. "Professionals, probably ex-military. Vincent paid well for them." Voss's jaw was tight. "He's escalating faster than I expected. I thought we had more time." "Time for what?" "To prepare, to position, to make him hesitate." He looked at her. "He's not hesitating anymore, which means we need to hit back. Tonight, before he has time to celebrate." "Hit back how?" "Chen gave Vincent our meeting schedule, which means Vincent knows about the waterfront development, which means he's going to assume we're moving on Cordova territory. We're going to make that assumption correct." The car pulled up to a warehouse in an area Alara didn't recognize. Industrial, empty. The kind of place where things happened that nobody talked about later. Inside, the warehouse was larger than it looked from outside. Open floor plan, high ceilings, and at least 20 people already assembled, some in suits, some in tactical gear, all of them looking at Voss like he was about to hand down commandments. "Status," he said. A woman in black combat gear stepped forward. Chen made 4 calls after dinner, 2 to Vincent Cordova, 1 to an unlisted number in Jersey, 1 to his wife. Vincent initiated the apartment attack 6 hours after Chen's report. Current location, Cordova Estate in Westchester. Full security detail, at least a dozen armed guards. "Too many to hit directly," someone else said. Someone pasteta. "We're not hitting the estate." Voss moved to a table covered in maps and photos. "We're hitting the warehouse, the one in Red Hook where Vincent moved his product this morning. $2 million sitting in crates waiting for distribution. We're going to burn it." Silence. Then nervous laughter from someone in the back. "You're joking." Chen's photo appeared on a screen. Different Chen, younger, probably the one from dinner. "That's Cordova territory. You hit that warehouse. It's open war. We're already at war." Vincent just made that clear. Voss tapped the map. The warehouse is lightly guarded. 4 men, maybe 5. Most of Vincent's resources are at the estate or spread across the city looking for Alara. "We have a window, narrow, but exploitable." "What about collateral damage?" someone asked. "Minimal. It's industrial area. Nearest residence is half a mile away. We go in fast, set charges, get out. Building burns, product is destroyed, and Vincent loses $2 million plus the distribution network he spent 6 months building." The woman in tactical gear nodded slowly. "Doable, but loud. Police will respond. Let them. By the time they arrive, we'll be gone, and they'll find a Cordova warehouse full of illegal product going up in flames. Vincent can't report it stolen because that would mean admitting what was inside." Voss looked around the room. "Questions?" No one spoke. "Good. We move in 1 hour. Alara, you're staying here." "Like hell I am," she said. Everyone turned to look at her. She stepped forward, forced her voice steady even though her hands were shaking. "Vincent just tried to kill me. Sent armed men into your apartment to put bullets in me because I'm connected to you. You want to hit back? I'm going with you." "This isn't a learning experience," Voss said. "This is actual violence. People could die." "People already died. Your doorman, your security, maybe others I didn't see." She moved closer, lowered her voice so only he could hear. "You said I needed to choose a side. I'm choosing, but I'm not doing it from a warehouse while you risk your life. I'm going, With you, or I walk out that door right now and you never see me again." His eyes searched hers, looking for weakness, for hesitation. He wouldn't find any. Because in that moment, standing in a warehouse surrounded by people preparing for war, Alara Quinn finally understood what she'd been dancing around for 3 weeks. She wasn't afraid anymore. She was angry, and anger burned hotter than fear ever could. "Fine," Voss said, "but you stay in the car. You don't get out. You don't engage. You're a witness, not a participant. Understood?" "Understood." He turned back to the room. "All right. Let's burn Vincent's empire to the ground." The warehouse in Red Hook looked abandoned from the outside. Rusted siding, broken windows, the kind of building that city planners forgot existed, but the security cameras mounted on corners suggested otherwise, as did the 2 men smoking cigarettes near the loading dock, both carrying sidearms and shoulder holsters they didn't bother hiding. The team assembled 2 blocks away. 8 people total. Voss, the woman in tactical gear whose name turned out to be Morgan, and 6 others who moved with the fluid confidence of people who'd done this before. Alara sat in the SUV with the driver, watching through binoculars as Voss went through final checks. He'd changed into dark clothing, strapped on body armor, loaded weapons with practiced efficiency. He looked different in tactical gear, less polished, more dangerous, like the person Catherine had warned her about. The one who'd killed someone at 19 and never looked back. "They're moving," the driver said. The team split into 2 groups. Morgan's unit approached from the east, using shipping containers as cover. Voss's group went north, staying in shadows, weapons raised. The guards at the loading dock never saw them coming. Morgan's team moved first, silent takedowns, both guards unconscious before they could shout. Zip ties, duct tape, dragged into shadows. Then Voss was at the door, picking the lock with tools that looked too delicate for someone with hands that size. The door opened. The team slipped inside. Alara counted seconds, 30, 40, 60. Then light bloomed inside the warehouse. Not fire, not yet, just flashlights sweeping through the darkness, searching. A shout, gunfire. Not sustained, just 3 quick shots that echoed through empty streets. Then silence. Voss emerged, signaling, all clear. The team moved back inside, this time carrying equipment, charges, detonators, accelerant. They worked fast, efficient, no wasted motion. 5 minutes. That's all it took to wire an entire warehouse for demolition. They evacuated, counted heads, everyone accounted for. Voss made a quick call, spoke in low tones, then looked directly at the SUV where Alara sat. Even from 2 blocks away, she felt the weight of that look. He pressed the detonator. The warehouse exploded. Not a movie explosion. No huge fireball. No shockwave that flipped cars. Just a deep whump that Alara felt in her chest, followed by flames that spread fast, consuming dry wood and chemical product, turning the building into a torch that lit up the night sky. Sirens immediately. Fire trucks from somewhere close, probably already responding to the earlier gunshots. The team scattered, vehicles peeling off in different directions. Execution so smooth it had to be rehearsed. Voss slid into the SUV, breathing hard, smelling like smoke and cordite. Drive. They drove. Behind them, the warehouse burned like a signal fire, announcing to everyone in the city that the Cordovas had been hit, that Adrian Voss had drawn blood, that this was only the beginning. Heck, they ended up at a different safe house, apartment in a building that looked condemned but had power and running water and rooms that didn't smell like mildew. Voss sent everyone else away, told them to disperse and maintain communication silence for 12 hours minimum. Then it was just the 2 of them again. He poured whiskey. Drank it standing at the window, watching the distant orange glow where the warehouse still burned. "Vincent is going to lose his mind," he said quietly. "Good." He glanced at her. "You're not upset." "Should I be? He tried to kill me. You burned his product. Seems fair." "Nothing about this is fair. Fair would be calling the police and letting the system handle it. This is revenge." He drank more whiskey. "And revenge has costs. You understand that, right? This doesn't end with a warehouse fire. Vincent is going to escalate. Marcus is going to get involved. Other families are going to start taking sides. By morning, we'll have started a war that could burn through this entire city. Then maybe the city needs to burn." He stared at her, really stared, like he was seeing her for the first time. You've changed. You changed me. No, I gave you tools. You decided what to build with them. He set down his glass. 3 weeks ago, you were terrified of your own shadow. Now you're sitting in a safe house after watching me blow up a building, and you're calm. What happened? I stopped being afraid of dying. Why? Because dying scared felt worse than dying angry. And I'm so fucking angry, Adrian, at Rico, at the Cordovas, at my father for leaving debts I had to pay, at every person who ever made me feel small, at you for pulling me into this without asking if I wanted it. She stood, moved closer, but mostly at myself, for letting it happen, for believing I deserved it, for thinking survival was the same thing as living. And now I want them to hurt the way they hurt me. I want Vincent to feel helpless. I want Marcus to watch everything he built turn to ash. I want Rico to spend the rest of his life knowing I won. She was close enough to touch him now, close enough to see the lines around his eyes, the gray in his hair, the scars on his knuckles. You asked what I want from you. That's what I want. Help me destroy them, completely. No mercy, no half measures, total annihilation. His expression was unreadable. That's a lot of anger. Good, I've got a lot to be angry about. He reached out, touched her face, gentle, almost tender, completely at odds with everything she'd seen him do tonight. You know what happens if we go down this road? Really go down it. Not just warehouse fires and financial pressure. I'm talking about blood, bodies, choices you can't take back. I know. Do you? Because once you cross certain lines, you don't get to uncross them. You become the thing you hated, and there's no going back. I don't want to go back. She caught his hand, held it against her cheek. I want to go forward, into whatever comes next, as long as the Cordovas burn. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled her closer, kissed her, not gentle, not romantic, just raw need and shared violence and the recognition that they were both too far gone to pretend otherwise. When they broke apart, the city was still burning in the distance. And Alara Quinn, who 3 weeks ago had been a waitress afraid of her own reflection, realized she'd finally found something worth fighting for. Herself. 2. Morning came with sirens and smoke still hanging over the city like a funeral shroud. Alara woke on a couch that smelled like dust and old leather, Voss's jacket draped over her like a blanket. Sunlight streamed through windows that hadn't been cleaned in months, illuminating particles floating in the air. She could hear him in the next room, voice low and sharp, speaking to someone on the phone in a language she didn't recognize. Her body ached. Her head throbbed. And when she closed her eyes, she saw the warehouse exploding over and over again, flames reaching toward the sky like accusing fingers. She'd crossed a line last night. They both had. Voss appeared in the doorway, phone still pressed to his ear. He looked like he hadn't slept, eyes bloodshot, jaw dark with stubble, shirt rumpled in a way she'd never seen before. He ended the call, tossed the phone onto a chair. Vincent knows, he said. Warehouse is all over the news. Police found the guards zip-tied behind the building. No casualties, but $2 million in product gone. The Cordovas are calling it terrorism. Is that what we are now? Terrorists? We're whatever the story needs us to be. He moved to the window, pulled back the curtain slightly. Vincent made a statement an hour ago. Said the attack was unprovoked. Said I'm trying to start a war. Said anyone who does business with me is choosing sides against his family. And people will believe him. Some will, some won't. Most will wait to see who wins before deciding which story to support. He let the curtain fall. I need you to call your sister. Alara's blood went cold. Why? Because Vincent is going to go after anyone connected to me, and your sister is connected to you, which makes her connected to me. I've had people watching her, but watching isn't the same as protecting. She needs to disappear, today, right now. She won't leave. She has a job, a life. She won't have either if Vincent gets to her first. Voss pulled out a burner phone, handed it to her. Call her. Tell her you're in trouble. Tell her she needs to go somewhere safe for a few weeks. Don't give details. Don't tell her where you are. Just get her moving. Alara took the phone with shaking hands, dialed a number she knew by heart. It rang 4 times before her sister picked up. Hello? Cautious, Maya always answered unknown numbers like they might be creditors. It's me. Alara? Where the hell have you been? I've been calling for weeks. I don't have time to explain. You need to listen to me very carefully. You're in danger. Silence on the other end. Then Maya's voice, sharper now, afraid. What kind of danger? The kind that involves men with guns. The kind that means you need to pack a bag right now and go somewhere they can't find you. Do you still have that friend in Boston? The one from college? Sarah. Yeah, but... Call her. Tell her you need a place to stay. Don't tell her why. Don't tell anyone why. Just go. Today. Don't go to work. Don't stop at your apartment except to grab essentials. Just run. Alara, you're scaring me. Good. Be scared. It'll keep you alive. She closed her eyes, forced herself to breathe. I'm sorry. For all of this, for dragging you into my mess, but you need to trust me. Please. Are you okay? I'm handling it. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I've got. Alara looked at Voss, who was watching her with an expression she couldn't read. I'll call you when it's safe. Until then, assume everyone is a threat. Trust no one. And Maya? Yeah? I love you. She hung up before her sister could respond, handed the phone back to Voss. Her hands were shaking so badly she almost dropped it. She'll go, Alara said. She's smart. She'll run. I hope so. Voss pocketed the phone. Because Vincent just posted a bounty. 50,000 for information leading to your location. Another 50 for anyone who brings you to him alive. The room tilted. He's putting a price on my head? He's desperate, which makes him dangerous. We burned $2 million and made him look weak in front of every criminal organization in the city. He can't let that stand. So he's turning you into a symbol, proof that crossing the Cordovas has consequences. Voss moved closer, voice dropping. We need to disappear, completely. No phones, no credit cards, no digital footprint. I have places set up for situations like this, safe houses that don't appear on any registry. We can stay there for a few weeks while things cool down. And then what? And we finish this, but carefully, strategically. No more warehouse fires, no more public moves. We go quiet, and we dismantle Vincent piece by piece until there's nothing left. How long will that take? Months, maybe years. He pulled out a different phone. This one looked expensive, encrypted. I'm sending you coordinates, memorize them, then destroy the phone. She looked at the screen, a string of numbers that meant nothing to her, latitude and longitude, probably. Some location outside the city. What if I don't want to hide, she asked. Then you'll be dead by tomorrow. He said it flatly. No emotion, just fact. Vincent has every two-bit criminal in the city looking for you. Addicts who'll sell you out for enough money to get high. Dealers who'll trade information for reduced sentences. Even civilians. 50,000 is life-changing money for most people. You can't trust anyone. Can't show your face anywhere. The second you step into public, someone will recognize you and make the call. This is insane. This is reality. He grabbed his jacket, tossed her a hoodie from somewhere. Put that on. Cover your hair. We're moving in 5 minutes. Where? Somewhere they won't look. He was already at the door, scanning the hallway like a soldier checking for ambush. Come on! Clock's running. They left through a back entrance that opened onto an alley. The car was different again, some beat-up sedan that looked like it belonged to someone's grandmother. Voss drove, taking side streets and avoiding cameras, doubling back randomly to check for tails. Alara watched the city slide past. Her city. The place she'd lived her entire life, and now she was running from it like a fugitive. I need to ask you something, she said quietly. Ask. Do you regret it? Last night. The warehouse. He was quiet for a long moment, eyes fixed on the road. Regret implies I had a choice. Vincent sent men to kill you. I responded proportionally. That's not regret. That's consequence. That's not an answer. It's the only answer that matters. He turned onto a highway, merged into traffic. Regret is what weak people feel when they're too afraid to own their decisions. I own mine. All of them. The good. The bad. The ones that keep me awake at night wondering if I'm still human or if I crossed that line so long ago I can't even see it anymore. Are you? Still human? I don't know. He glanced at her. Are you? She thought about this warehouse burning. about watching it happen and feeling nothing except satisfaction, about wanting Vincent to hurt the way he'd hurt her, consequences be damned. I don't know either, she admitted. They drove for another hour, past the city limits, into areas where buildings got smaller and trees got thicker, and cell service started cutting out. Finally, Voss pulled onto a dirt road that didn't appear on any map, drove until the road ended at a cabin that looked like it had been abandoned decades ago. This is it, he said. The cabin was smaller than it looked from outside. One main room, a bedroom, a bathroom, with plumbing that probably didn't work. But there was a generator out back, canned food in the pantry, bottled water stacked in the corner. Someone had prepared this place for exactly this kind of emergency. How long do we stay here? Elara asked. Until I figure out our next move. Voss was already pulling out a laptop, setting up some kind of satellite connection. I need to coordinate with my people, make sure everyone's safe, make sure Vincent doesn't start picking off my assets while we're gone. And what am I supposed to do? Stay alive, stay quiet, stay out of sight. He didn't look up from the screen. There's books on the shelf if you're bored. She looked at the shelf. Spy novels and survival guides, and a copy of Sun Tzu's Art of War that looked like it had been read 1,000 times. Perfect. Hours passed. Voss typed, made encrypted calls, barked orders at people she couldn't see. Elara paced, watched the sun move across the sky through windows that desperately needed cleaning, tried not to think about her sister, about whether Maya had actually left, about what Vincent would do if he found her first. Around sunset, Voss's phone rang. Not the encrypted one, a different phone she hadn't seen before. His expression changed when he looked at the screen. Something flickered there, something that might have been surprise or might have been fear. He answered, "Yeah." Silence. He listened. His jaw tightened. "When?" Another pause. "Are you sure?" Longer pause. "Understood. I'll handle it." He hung up, stood there for a moment staring at the phone like it had delivered a death sentence. "What?" Elara asked. "Catherine's dead." The words hit like a physical blow. "What?" Her body was found an hour ago. Single gunshot to the head. Professional execution. No signs of struggle. They got to her in her own office. Voss's voice was flat, empty, like he'd shut down every emotion just to keep functioning. Vincent's sending a message. Anyone who helps me dies. Catherine wouldn't. She was careful. She was the most careful person I've ever met. Careful doesn't matter when someone on the inside gives them access. He pulled up something on his laptop, turned the screen toward her. Security footage from Catherine's building. Timestamp showed 3 hours ago. A man in a maintenance uniform walked past the camera, face partially obscured by a cap. Voss froze the frame, enhanced the image. The man's face became clearer. Elara's breath stopped. She knew that face. "That's Michael," she whispered. "From the meeting. One of your people. Was one of my people." Voss closed the laptop. "He's been on Vincent's payroll for 6 months, feeding him information, waiting for the right moment to activate. Catherine figured it out this morning, called me, said she had proof, said she was going to bring it to me personally." His hands clenched into fists. "They killed her before she could." "How many others?" Elara asked. "How many other people working for you are actually working for Vincent?" "I don't know." And that admission seemed to cost him something. "I'm running diagnostics now, checking financial records, communication patterns, everything. But if Michael was deep enough to fool Catherine, others could be too. We can't trust anyone. We can't trust anyone I haven't personally vetted in the last 24 hours, which leaves about 3 people." He started packing equipment. "We're moving. This location might be compromised. If Michael knew about it." "He knew about everything," Elara finished. "All your safe houses, all your backup plans, everything you told him, he told Vincent." Voss nodded, kept packing. His movements were mechanical, efficient, no wasted motion. But she could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his jaw kept clenching like he was biting back screams. "Catherine was your friend," Elara said quietly. "Catherine was an asset, a valuable one. Her death is a significant operational loss." "Bullshit. You cared about her." "Caring is a liability." He zipped the bag closed. "It makes you weak, makes you hesitate. Makes you human. And humans die, Alara. They die because they care too much, or trust too easily, or believe that loyalty means something in a world where everyone's for sale if the price is right. So what? You're just going to shut down? Stop feeling anything? I'm going to do whatever it takes to survive. And so are you. He grabbed her arm, pulled her close. Catherine died because I wasn't paranoid enough. Because I believed the people around me were loyal, when loyalty is just another transaction. That mistake cost her life. I won't make it again. You can't operate like that. You can't suspect everyone. Watch me. He released her, moved to the window, scanned the tree line with eyes that looked like they'd stopped seeing people and started seeing threats. We leave in 10 minutes. Pack light. Only essentials. Alara wanted to argue. Wanted to tell him he was wrong, that Catherine's death wasn't his fault, that shutting down emotionally would destroy him faster than any bullet Vincent could fire. But she didn't, because deep down, she understood. This was survival. Raw. Brutal. Stripped of everything except the most basic instinct to keep breathing. She packed. They left before full dark, driving a different route on roads that barely qualified as roads. Voss didn't speak, just drove with the focused intensity of someone navigating a minefield, every decision calculated, every turn deliberate. They were 20 miles out when headlights appeared behind them. Shit, Voss muttered. Could be anyone. At 11 p.m. on a road that doesn't appear on maps? He accelerated. The sedan struggled. This wasn't a car built for high-speed chases. Hold on. The headlights got closer, brighter. Then a second set appeared, then a third. They found us, Alara said. Michael must have tagged the car, or the laptop, or something. Voss was weaving now, taking turns too fast, tires squealing on gravel. I need you to do exactly what I say. No questions, no hesitation. Understood? Understood. There's a gun in the glove box. 9mm, 15 rounds. You remember how to use it? Yes. If I tell you to shoot, you shoot. Center mass. Keep firing until they stop moving. Can you do that? She thought about Catherine, about the doorman, about everyone Vincent had killed just to send a message. Yes. The pursuing cars were gaining. 3 of them now, spread out to prevent escape. Professional formation. This wasn't random criminals hoping for bounty money. This was a coordinated hit. Voss took a hard right onto an even smaller road, nearly flipping the sedan. Trees pressed close on both sides, branches scraping against the windows. The road climbed, steep and winding, toward something Alara couldn't see. Then the road ended. Cliff edge, 50-foot drop into darkness. Voss slammed the brakes, and the car skidded to a stop 3 feet from open air. The pursuing vehicles stopped behind them, blocking the only escape route. Doors opened, men emerged, 6 of them, all armed, all moving with the calm precision of people who'd done this before. Voss reached for his gun. Stay behind me. They got out of the car slowly, hands visible. No sudden movements, the kind of surrender that wasn't really surrender, just buying time until a better option appeared. One of the men stepped forward, older, gray hair, face that looked like it had been used as a punching bag one too many times. He smiled without warmth. Mr. Voss, Vincent sends his regards. I'm sure he does. Voss's voice was casual. Too casual. Tell Vincent if he wants to talk, he should call. Sending a kill squad is inefficient. Who said anything about killing? The man gestured. 2 of his people moved forward, weapons raised. Vincent wants you alive, both of you. He has questions about the warehouse, about your operation, about who else needs to die before this ends. And if we decline the invitation, then we drag you. Either way, you're coming. The man's smile widened. Drop your weapons. On the ground. Nice and slow. Voss didn't move. You're making a mistake. The only mistake was yours, thinking you could burn Cordova property and walk away. The man raised his own gun, pointing it directly at Alara. Her first, unless you cooperate. Time seemed to slow. Alara saw Voss's hand move toward his weapon, saw the gunman tense, fingers tightening on triggers, saw the cliff edge behind them, darkness waiting like an open mouth, and she made a decision. She ran. Not toward the gunman, toward the cliff. Alara, don't... Voss started. She jumped. The fall lasted forever and no time at all. Wind screaming past her ears, darkness rushing up to meet her. and a single clear thought cutting through the chaos. Better to die on my terms than theirs. She hit water. The impact knocked all the air from her lungs. Cold shocked her system, made her muscles seize. She went under, tumbled, lost all sense of direction. Water filled her nose, her mouth, dragged her down toward a bottom she couldn't see. She kicked, fought, clawed her way toward what she hoped was up. Her head broke the surface. She gasped, choking, vision blurred. Current grabbed her, pulled her downstream, away from the cliff, away from the gunfire she could hear echoing in the distance. She tried to swim, couldn't. The water was too fast, too cold, and her body was shutting down from shock and impact and pure exhaustion. The current pulled her under again, and this time she didn't have the strength to fight back. Banket satahamen. She woke up choking. Water erupted from her lungs in violent spasms. She rolled onto her side, vomited river water and bile onto mud that smelled like decay. Her whole body shook, cold or shock, she couldn't tell which. Someone's hands pressed against her back. Easy, breathe, you're okay. Not Voss's voice. Someone else, younger, unfamiliar. She blinked water from her eyes, tried to focus. A kid, maybe 19, 20, crouched beside her, wearing clothes that looked like they'd been salvaged from donation bins. His face was dirty, concerned, and completely unrecognizable. Who? She started. I'm nobody. I fish this river sometimes. Saw you go under. Pulled you out. He helped her sit up. You're lucky I was here. Another minute and you'd be dead. Lucky. Right. She looked around. They were on a riverbank somewhere downstream from where she'd jumped. Trees everywhere. No lights. No sounds except water and wind and her own ragged breathing. Where am I? She asked. About 5 miles outside Beacon. You jumped from Miller's Cliff? He whistled low. That's a 40-foot drop. People die from that all the time. My friend, there was another man with me. I didn't see anyone else. Just you, floating face down. I thought you were dead until you coughed. He pulled a blanket from somewhere, wrapped it around her shoulders. It smelled like fish and wet dog, but it was warm. You need a hospital. I need a phone. Don't have one, no service out here anyway. He stood, offered his hand. There's a shelter about 2 miles south. They'll have a phone. Can you walk? She tried to stand. Her legs gave out immediately. The kid caught her. Okay, walking's out. I'll carry you. You don't have to. Yeah, I do. Can't leave someone to die. That's not how it works. He scooped her up like she weighed nothing. Started walking. Ilara's head spun. Everything hurt. Her lungs burned. Her ribs felt cracked. And somewhere upstream, Voss was either dead or captured, and 6 armed men were probably searching for her body right now. What's your name? She asked. Tommy. He adjusted his grip. You? Ilara. Nice to meet you, Ilara, though I wish it was under better circumstances. He navigated through trees with the ease of someone who'd walked this path 1,000 times. You in some kind of trouble? You could say that. Police trouble or other trouble? Other trouble. Yeah, figured. He was quiet for a moment. I'm not going to ask questions, not my business. But when we get to the shelter, you might want to think about calling someone. Because jumping off cliffs doesn't solve most problems, just delays them. I didn't jump to solve anything. I jumped because staying meant dying. And falling 40 feet into freezing water didn't? I got lucky. You got me. He flashed a quick grin. Which maybe amounts to the same thing. They walked in silence, or rather he walked. She floated in and out of consciousness, brain struggling to process trauma and hypothermia and the crushing weight of what had just happened. Catherine was dead. Voss was captured, or worse. Vincent had people inside their organization, and she was alive by pure accident, being carried through the woods by a stranger who smelled like fish and kindness. The shelter appeared out of the darkness. Small building, lights in the windows, cross on the roof. Not a commercial shelter, something smaller. Run by people who believed in helping without asking questions. Tommy pushed through the door. Warmth hit like a physical force. Help! He called. I need help! People appeared. A woman in her 50s, gray hair pulled back, eyes sharp with the kind of competence that came from seeing everything twice. A younger man, broad-shouldered, moving with purpose. They took Ilara from Tommy's arms, laid her on a couch near a space heater, started checking vitals. Hypothermia, the woman said. Possible concussion. Definitely shock. How long was she in the water? Don't know. Found her floating about 20 minutes ago. Tommy stepped back, giving them space to work. She needs to call someone. Phone's on the desk, the woman said, but first we need to get her stable. They worked efficiently, stripped off her wet clothes, wrapped her in blankets, forced hot liquid down her throat that tasted like honey and fire. Checked her pupils, her pulse, her breathing. Gradually, the shaking stopped. Feeling returned to her fingers and toes, bringing pain with it. But pain meant alive, and alive meant options. Can you tell me your name? The woman asked. Elara? I'm Margaret. This is my shelter. You're safe here. She sat back on her heels. Can you tell me what happened? I fell. From where? Miller's Cliff. Margaret's expression tightened. That's a jump, not a fall. You trying to hurt yourself? I was trying to not get shot. Silence. Margaret exchanged a look with the younger man. Then she stood, moved to the door, locked it. Okay, she said quietly. Let's start over. Who's trying to shoot you? People I can't fight. People who will kill anyone who helps me. People who are probably searching this area right now looking for my body. Elara forced herself to sit up despite the dizziness. I need to use your phone, and then I need to disappear before they find this place. You're in no condition to disappear anywhere. I don't have a choice, she looked at Tommy. Thank you for saving me. But you need to forget you saw me. All of you. If anyone asks, you never found anyone in the river. Understood? Who would ask, Tommy said. Men with guns. Men who work for the Cordova family. Men who won't hesitate to burn this place down with all of you inside if they think you're hiding me. Margaret's face went pale. The Cordovas? You know them. Everyone in the Hudson Valley knows them. They own half the politicians and all the police. She moved to the window, peered through the curtain. If they're looking for you, we have maybe an hour before someone checks here. This is the only shelter for 20 miles. They'll hit it eventually. Then I need to be gone in 30 minutes. Elara stood on shaking legs. Phone, please. Margaret pointed to the desk. Elara stumbled over, picked up the receiver. Old landline. No caller ID. Perfect. She dialed the only number she'd memorized that wasn't Voss's. It rang 4 times. 5. 6. Then a voice she recognized. Who is this? It's Elara. I need help. Silence. Then Morgan's voice, sharp as broken glass. Where's Voss? I don't know. We were ambushed. I jumped. He didn't. They might have him. They might have killed him. I don't know. The words tumbled out too fast, panic bleeding through. I'm at a shelter near Beacon. The Cordovas are looking for me. I need extraction. Now. Stay put. I'll have someone there in 20 minutes. Make it 15. I don't think we have 20. Understood. Morgan paused. Elara, if Voss is dead, then we burn the Cordovas to ash. Every single one of them. No mercy. No surrender. Total war. Her voice was ice cold now, shock giving way to something harder. Tell your people to get ready. This ends now. She hung up, turned to face Margaret and Tommy and the younger man whose name she still didn't know. Thank you, she said, for saving my life, for not asking questions, for being decent when the world doesn't reward decency. She grabbed her wet clothes, started pulling them on despite the cold. When the men come, and they will come, tell them you found me unconscious. Tell them I woke up and ran north before you could stop me. Tell them whatever you need to tell them to stay alive. Will they believe us? Margaret asked. Probably not, but it'll buy you time to run. Elara laced up her shoes with numb fingers. Get everyone out of here. Close the shelter for a few weeks. Go somewhere the Cordovas don't have reach. This is all we have. Then rebuild it later, but alive. She moved to the door, unlocked it, pressed her ear against the wood, listening. They're coming. I can feel it. And she could. That instinct Voss had taught her to trust was screaming now, every nerve on fire with proximity to danger. Headlights appeared in the distance. Multiple vehicles. Moving fast. Out the back, Margaret said. Through the woods. There's a trail that leads to the highway. Follow it north. Keep moving. Elara nodded. Grabbed the blanket she'd needed against the cold. Moved toward the back door. Tommy caught her arm. Hey, Whatever you're running from, I hope you survive it. Me too. She ran into the darkness. Behind her, she heard vehicles pulling up to the shelter, doors slamming, voices shouting commands. She didn't look back. The woods swallowed her whole. Batek. She ran until her lungs burned and her legs gave out. Collapsed against a tree, gasping, vision swimming. The cold was worse now without the shelter's warmth, without dry clothes, without anything except adrenaline keeping her moving. Light swept through the trees behind her. Flashlights. Searchers. She forced herself up, kept moving. The trail Margaret mentioned was barely visible. Just a gap between trees, maybe a deer path, maybe nothing. She followed it anyway. North. Always north. Toward the highway. Toward Morgan's extraction team. Toward whatever came next. Her phone buzzed. Wait, her phone? She pulled it out of her pocket. Waterlogged. Screen cracked. But somehow still functioning. One message waiting. Unknown number. She opened it. We have Voss. Trade yourself for him. Alone. Midnight. Coordinates below. Come armed, and he dies. Don't come and he dies. You have 3 hours. V coordinates appeared. Some location back toward the city. Public place. Lots of witnesses. The kind of location that suggested Vincent wanted this clean, controlled, theatrical. Alara stared at the message. At the ultimatum. At the choice that wasn't really a choice. She could run. Let Morgan extract her. Disappear into whatever network Voss had built for exactly this kind of emergency. Live to fight another day. But Voss would die. Slowly, probably. Painfully. And Vincent would parade his corpse around as proof that crossing the Cordovas had consequences. Or she could trade herself. Walk into Vincent's trap. Probably die. Definitely be tortured for information first. But maybe she could buy enough time for Morgan to mount a rescue. Maybe she could create an opening. Maybe she could do something other than run. Behind her, the searchers were getting closer. Their lights swept back and forth, methodical, professional. They'd find her eventually. It was just math. She looked at the coordinates again. Thought about Catherine dying alone. About the doorman bleeding out in the lobby. About everyone Vincent had killed just to prove a point. About Voss, who'd pulled her out of a nightmare and given her the tools to fight back. Even if those tools came with costs, she was still calculating. She made her decision. She started walking south, toward the city, toward Vincent, toward an ending she couldn't see but could feel approaching like a storm front, heavy and inevitable and absolutely final. 3 hours until midnight. 3 hours to figure out how to save Voss without destroying herself. 3 hours to become something she'd never been before. Not a victim. Not a survivor. Not even a weapon. Something worse. Something necessary. She pulled out the phone, typed a message to Morgan. Change of plans. I'm going to Vincent. When he has both of us in one place, that's when you hit. Bring everyone, bring everything. This ends tonight. She hit send before she could second-guess herself. Then she kept walking, cold and wet and terrified, toward a midnight meeting that would either end the war or end her. The trees thinned. The highway appeared in the distance, cars moving like blood cells through arteries, everyone heading somewhere that mattered, oblivious to the violence unfolding in the spaces between their ordinary lives. Alara stepped onto the shoulder, stuck out her thumb. A truck stopped. The driver looked concerned. You okay, miss? You look half frozen. I need a ride to the city, she said. It's late, you sure? I'm sure, and I'll pay you whatever you want. Just get me there before midnight. The driver studied her for a moment, saw something in her face that made him unlock the door without arguing. She climbed in. The heater was running. Heat hit her like a blessing. Where in the city? He asked, pulling back onto the highway. She gave him the coordinates from Vincent's message. The driver's expression changed, recognition mixed with concern. That's not a good neighborhood, he said. I know. You in some kind of trouble? The worst kind. He was quiet for a moment, then he reached under his seat, pulled out a hunting knife in a leather sheath, handed it to her. Take it, he said. I got another one. And whatever you're walking into, you're going to need more than good intentions. She took the knife. The weight felt right in her hand. Familiar. Like picking up a weapon she'd been training with her whole life without knowing it. Thank you, she whispered. Don't thank me yet. Just stay alive. World's got enough ghosts already. They drove through the night, headlights cutting through darkness, radio playing some country song about loss and redemption and roads that led nowhere good. Alara watched the city grow larger on the horizon, lights spreading like infection, and wondered if she'd ever see another sunrise. Wondered if Voss was still alive to see this one. Wondered what she'd become by the time the sun rose again. If she lived long enough to find out. The truck dropped her 3 blocks from the coordinates. The driver looked at her one more time, concern etched deep in the lines around his eyes. "You sure about this?" "No." Alara clutched the knife he'd given her, hidden now beneath her still damp jacket. "But I'm doing it anyway." "God help you then." She climbed out into air that tasted like exhaust and rain about to fall. The truck pulled away, taillights disappearing into late-night traffic, taking the last piece of normal with it. 11:47 p.m. 13 minutes until midnight. The location Vincent had chosen was a museum, the kind that stayed open late on weekends for donors and special events. Currently closed, dark, but not empty. She could see figures moving behind windows, shadows that suggested at least a dozen people inside. A trap, obviously. Vincent wasn't stupid enough to meet her alone, but she wasn't stupid enough to walk in unarmed either. She circled the building, staying in shadows, cataloging exits and security cameras and potential points of entry. The main entrance was locked, guarded by 2 men in suits who were definitely carrying. Side entrance looked the same, but the loading dock and back, that was dark, quiet, watched by only one guard who kept checking his phone like he'd rather be anywhere else. Alara moved closer. Careful. Silent. Catherine's training kicking in automatically, weight on the balls of her feet, breathing controlled, every step deliberate. The guard never saw her coming. She hit him from behind with the knife pommel, not the blade, she wasn't ready for that yet, right at the base of the skull. He dropped like a puppet with cut strings. She caught him before he hit the ground, dragged him into shadows, zip-tied his hands with a cable tie she'd found in the truck. His radio crackled. "South checkpoint. Status?" She pressed the transmit button, dropped her voice low, rough. "Clear. Copy." She took his gun, Glock 17, full magazine, and his radio, clipped both to her belt. Then she picked the lock on the loading dock door with a bobby pin she'd kept in her hair, muscle memory from a life that felt like it belonged to someone else. The door opened onto darkness and the smell of cleaning chemicals. Storage area. She moved through it fast, following the sound of voices somewhere deeper in the building. The museum's main gallery opened up before her, 3 stories tall, skylights overhead showing a sky-threatening storm, artwork on walls that probably cost more than most people made in a lifetime. And in the center, under a sculpture of something abstract and vaguely threatening, Vincent Cordova stood beside a chair. Voss was tied to that chair. He looked bad, face swollen, blood crusted under his nose, shirt torn. But alive, conscious, eyes tracking movement with the focused intensity of someone calculating odds and finding them all terrible. Vincent saw her the moment she stepped into the light. "Right on time," he said. "I appreciate punctuality." Alara counted bodies, 12 men spread throughout the gallery, all armed, all positioned to create crossfire if things went bad. No civilians, no witnesses, just killers waiting for an excuse. "Let him go," she said. Eventually, Vincent circled the chair like a shark. "But first, we're going to have a conversation about respect, about consequences, about what happens when people forget their place in the natural order. I know my place." She took 3 steps forward, stopped when guns tracked her movement. "I'm the person who burned $2 million of your dollars, who made you look weak, who's about to make you regret every decision that led to this moment." Vincent laughed, actually laughed. "You think you have leverage here? You walked into a building surrounded by my people, carrying a gun you barely know how to use, trying to save a man who's already dead. The only question is whether you die quickly or slowly. There's a third option, which is, you die. He lives. I walk out." She pulled the Glock, aimed it directly at Vincent's head. Every gun in the room immediately pointed at her, red laser dots painting her chest like target practice. "Tell your people to stand down or I put a bullet between your eyes right now." "You won't. Try me." They stared at each other. Vincent's expression shifted, amusement fading into something harder, more calculating. He was trying to read her, trying to figure out if she was bluffing. She wasn't. "Stand down," Vincent said quietly. The guns didn't lower, but fingers moved off triggers. Fractional, but enough. "Ilara," Voss's voice, rough from whatever they'd done to him. "Don't." "Shut up." She kept the gun trained on Vincent. "Here's how this works. You untie him. We walk out together. You don't follow. You don't retaliate. You accept that this war is over and you lost. And if I refuse, then I kill you. Your people kill me. Adrian probably dies. And the power vacuum you leave behind tears your family apart because Marcus is old and sick and Vincent Jr. is too stupid to hold your empire together. Everyone loses." Vincent's jaw tightened. "You've thought this through. I had 3 hours in a truck. It's amazing what you can plan when you're cold and wet and have absolutely nothing left to lose." "Everyone has something to lose. I lost it already. My apartment, my sister's safety, my innocence, my belief that good things happen to good people. All gone. Burned away. Which means killing you cost me nothing except a bullet, and I've got 17 of those." She took another step forward. "So choose fast, Vincent. Live or die. Those are your options." He looked past her, nodded slightly. She spun just as one of his men moved. Fired. The shot went wide. She'd been aiming for his shoulder, but hit his leg instead. He went down screaming. Every gun in the room came up. "Next one kills Vincent," she shouted. "I don't care if you kill me after. He dies first. That's a promise." "Stand down," Vincent said again, louder this time. "Everyone stand the fuck down." Slowly the guns lowered. Ilara's heart hammered so hard she could feel it in her teeth. Her hands were shaking. The Glock felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. But she kept it trained on Vincent, kept her finger on the trigger, kept her expression flat like this was all according to plan. "Untie him," she said. "No. Then I start shooting, not you, them." She swung the gun toward the nearest guard. "One by one, until you comply or I run out of bullets. Your choice. You won't get 3 shots off before they drop you." "Probably. But 3 of your people still die. Can you afford to lose 3 more after everything you've lost this week?" She cocked her head. "How many soldiers do you have left, Vincent? How many are loyal versus how many are just waiting to see which side wins? Because I'm betting at least half the men in this room would walk if they thought you were weak enough to let a waitress with a stolen gun dictate terms." Something flickered across Vincent's face. Doubt. Uncertainty. She'd hit a nerve. "This is your last chance," she pressed. "Let him go. Walk away. Rebuild what's left of your operation somewhere I never have to see you again. Or die here. Tonight. Knowing that your ambition killed you." Vincent was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled out a knife, moved to the chair, cut the ropes binding Voss's wrists. Voss stood slowly, wincing. His right leg wasn't supporting weight properly. Broken or dislocated, hard to tell. He limped toward Ilara without a word. "We're leaving," Ilara said. "If anyone follows us, Vincent dies. If anyone shoots, Vincent dies. If I hear so much as a car engine start in the next 10 minutes, Vincent dies. Are we clear?" "Crystal." Vincent's voice was ice. "But understand something, Ilara. This doesn't end here. You can walk out tonight. You can think you won. But I have resources you can't imagine, patience you can't match, and a memory that doesn't forget. One day, maybe tomorrow, maybe next year, I'll find you when you're comfortable, when you've stopped looking over your shoulder. And when I do, what happens will make tonight look like mercy." "I'll be waiting," she said. She backed toward the exit, Voss beside her, gun still trained on Vincent. The guards tracked them but didn't move, didn't interfere, just watched with expressions that ranged from professional detachment to barely concealed bloodlust. They made it to the loading dock, to the alley, to a car that was waiting, Morgan's extraction team, right on time. Ilara shoved Voss into the back seat, climbed in after him, slammed the door. "Drive," she gasped. The car peeled out, tires shrieking. Behind them, the museum stayed dark and quiet. No pursuit, no gunfire. Just silence and the city sliding past like a bad dream. "You're insane," Voss said. "I saved your life. You walked into an execution wearing wet clothes and holding a stolen gun. That's not saving. That's suicide with delusions. It worked, didn't it?" She was shaking now, adrenaline crashing, the reality of what she'd just done hitting like a freight train. You're alive. I'm alive. Vincent's standing in a museum wondering how a waitress made him blink. He's going to kill you for this. He was going to kill me anyway. She looked at him, really looked. His face was a mess, bruises, cuts, one eye swollen, nearly shut. They'd worked him over professionally, the kind of beating designed to hurt without causing permanent damage. What did they want to know? Everything? Bank accounts, safe houses, personnel files, distribution networks. He leaned his head back against the seat, closed his eyes. I gave them nothing. They broke your leg. Just dislocated. I've had worse. Morgan turned from the front seat. Where to? Voss was quiet for a moment. Then he opened his eyes, looked at Alara. Somewhere Vincent can't find us. Somewhere we can plan our next move without looking over our shoulders every 30 seconds. We don't have a next move, Alara said. We run, disappear, start over somewhere the Cordovas don't have reach. No. Adrian, no. He sat up straighter despite the obvious pain. You just humiliated Vincent in front of his own people, made him stand down, made him look weak. He can't let that stand. Won't let it stand. Running just delays the inevitable. We need to finish this. Finish how? We're outnumbered, outgunned. Half your people are probably working for him. Catherine's dead. Your network is compromised. What exactly do you think we can finish? Vincent. Voss pulled out a phone. Different one. Probably grabbed off one of his captors. He made a mistake tonight, left me alive. Which means he still thinks he can win. Which means he's going to make another move, probably within the next 24 hours. Something designed to crush us permanently. Let him. We'll be gone. And what about your sister? What about the people who helped you? Tommy, Margaret, the truck driver who gave you a knife. Voss's voice dropped. Vincent will find them, kill them, use their deaths to prove a point. You think you can live with that? She thought about Tommy pulling her from the river, about Margaret unlocking the door despite the danger, about the truck driver handing over his hunting knife without asking questions. What are you proposing? She asked quietly. We hit him first. Tomorrow. Before he has time to consolidate. Before his people regroup. We go to the Cordova estate and we end this permanently. Morgan whistled low. That's suicide. That's strategy. The estate is where Marcus and Vincent both are, where their key personnel gather, where their records are kept. We hit it hard enough, fast enough, and we can decapitate the entire organization in one move. With what army? Alara asked. You said yourself, your network is compromised. Who can you trust? I can't trust anyone, which is why we're doing this with just us. Voss looked at Morgan. How many people can you pull together in 6 hours? People you've personally vetted, people who'll follow orders without question. Maybe 10, 15 if I call in favors. Call in all the favors. Tell them combat pay, double rates, triple if they survive. And what's the plan? Morgan asked. I'll have one by morning. Voss closed his eyes again. Get us somewhere safe, somewhere with weapons and medical supplies and a secure communication setup. Then give me 6 hours to plan how 15 people are going to destroy a criminal empire that's survived 3 generations. The car drove through empty streets. Rain started falling. Just a drizzle at first, then heavier, washing the city clean of blood and ash and everything that had burned in the past week. Alara watched Voss breathe, watched him calculate behind closed eyes, watched him turn a dislocated leg and a humiliating rescue into another chess move in a game she was only beginning to understand the rules of. This is insane, she said. Completely. He didn't open his eyes. But we're already insane. Might as well finish the job. The safe house was an industrial loft in a part of Brooklyn that looked like civilization had given up and moved on. Morgan's team was already there when they arrived. 10 people, all armed, all looking like they'd walked out of some special forces recruitment poster. They nodded at Voss without warmth, eyed Alara with expressions ranging from curiosity to skepticism. A medic set Voss's leg, shoved the kneecap back into place with a sickening pop that made Alara's stomach lurch. Voss didn't scream, just bit down on a leather strap and let sweat pour down his face until it was done. Ice it, the medic said. Stay off it for 48 hours minimum. I don't have 48 hours. Voss stood, tested the leg, winced. Brace it, tape it, whatever you need to do to make it functional for 6 hours. It'll hurt like hell. Everything hurts like hell. Make it functional. The medic sighed, started wrapping the knee in compression bandages that looked like they could stop a bullet. Alara found herself standing by the window, looking out at the city. Lights spread in every direction. Millions of people sleeping or working or living lives that had nothing to do with the violence brewing in this loft. She envied them. You should rest. Morgan appeared beside her, voice low. Tomorrow's going to be ugly. How ugly? The kind where most of us probably don't come home. Voss knows it. I know it. Everyone in this room knows it, except maybe you. Morgan pulled out a pack of cigarettes, offered one. Alara shook her head. I don't smoke. Tonight might be a good night to start. Morgan lit one anyway, blew smoke at the window. You know what you're signing up for, right? This isn't blowing up warehouses. This is walking into a fortified estate occupied by professional killers and trying to murder 2 people who've survived decades in a business where survival is the exception, not the rule. I know. Do you? Because you look like someone who 3 weeks ago was serving coffee and trying not to get noticed. And now you're planning to storm a criminal fortress with a bunch of mercenaries and a man who's held together by rage and painkillers. Morgan took another drag. What changed? Everything. Alara thought about Rico's hands, about her apartment with the broken mirror, about Catherine dying alone, about Voss tied to a chair, bleeding, but still calculating escape routes behind swollen eyes. I stopped believing the world would save me, started realizing I had to save myself. And how's that working out? Ask me tomorrow, if I'm alive. Morgan smiled without humor. Fair enough. They stood in silence, watching the city breathe. Eventually, Morgan stubbed out the cigarette, nodded toward where Voss was setting up a laptop and spreading maps across a table. He wants you in the planning session, says you have instincts the rest of us don't. What kind of instincts? The kind that kept you alive when smarter people would have died. Come on. The planning session was brutal. Voss pulled up satellite imagery of the Cordova estate, sprawling property in Westchester, surrounded by walls and cameras and enough security to repel a small army. The main house was 3 stories, reinforced, with a panic room in the basement that doubled as an armory. Vincent and Marcus will be here. Voss tapped the screen. 2nd floor. Marcus's office overlooks the gardens. Vincent's room is across the hall. Both have private security, at least 4 guards each, rotating shifts. So 8 guards on the 2nd floor alone, one of Morgan's people said, plus perimeter security, plus whoever's in the house doing regular operations. We're looking at 30 hostiles minimum. Closer to 40. Voss pulled up different images. But most of them are concentrated on the perimeter. Inside the house, it's lighter. Vincent's confident. He thinks the walls and cameras are enough. Are they? Against most threats, yes. Against us? Voss looked around the table. We're not most threats. We're not going in loud. We're not trying to fight our way through 40 guards. We're going in quiet. Surgical. 3 teams. He sketched on the map with a stylus. Team 1. Morgan. You take 4 people and handle perimeter security. Cut power. Disable cameras. Create confusion. Make them think the threat is external. While the real threat is already inside Chatsan, Morgan finished. Exactly. Team 2. Voss looked at one of the other operatives, a woman with a scar running down her jaw. Sarah, you take 3 people through the east wing. There's a service entrance used by kitchen staff. Guards are lazy there. They check it once an hour. You time it right, you're in. And we do what once we're in? Create noise, set fires, make them think you're the primary assault, draw resources away from the 2nd floor. Sacrificial distraction. Sarah nodded. I can work with that. Team 3 is me and Alara. We go in through the tunnels. Everyone turned to look at him. What tunnels? Morgan asked. Voss pulled up a different map. This one older, hand-drawn, showing the estate's original blueprints from the 1940s. The Cordovas bought this property from a bootlegger during Prohibition. He built smuggling tunnels connecting the basement to a warehouse half a mile away. The Cordovas know about them, but they haven't used them in decades. The entrance is sealed, but not well. How do you know this? Alara asked. Because I bought the warehouse 3 years ago specifically for this contingency. had engineers survey the tunnels, map them, ensure they're still structurally sound. He zoomed in on the tunnel entrance. We blow the seal, walk through, come up directly into the basement. From there, it's 2 flights of stairs to the second floor. While your leg is barely functional and she's... Sarah gestured at Alara. No offense, but what's her combat experience? She held a gun to Vincent's head an hour ago and made him blink. Voss didn't look up from the map. That's more relevant experience than most operators get in a year. That was luck. Luck is a skill, and she has it. Voss finally looked at Sarah. You have a problem with the plan? I have a problem with suicide missions disguised as strategy. Then don't come. This is voluntary. Anyone who wants out, walk now. No judgment, no consequences. Voss waited. Nobody moved. Good. We hit the estate at 0600, sunrise. They'll be tired. Shift changes will be sloppy. Vincent will be sleeping off whatever he drank after tonight's humiliation. Timing is everything. What about extraction? Morgan asked. Same way we came in, through the tunnels. Team 2 is expendable. Hey, Sarah said. You're creating distraction. That means you're exposed. If you make it out, excellent. If you don't, the mission continues. Voss said it without emotion. Just fact. Team 1 extracts via perimeter. Team 3 via tunnels. Rendezvous point is here. He marked a location 5 miles from the estate. By 0630, we're gone. Cordova Estate is in flames. Vincent and Marcus are dead. And the empire they built collapses within a week. What about the rest of the family? Someone asked. Vincent Jr., Marcus's other sons, the cousins. Not our problem. Let them fight each other for scraps. By the time they figure out a power structure, we'll be gone. Disappeared. New identities, new lives, new city. Voss closed the laptop. Questions? Silence. Then Morgan spoke. This is the worst plan I've ever heard. I know. 40 hostiles, fortified position, limited extraction options, at least a 30% chance everyone in this room dies. Closer to 50%, Voss corrected. But the alternative is running forever, looking over our shoulders, waiting for Vincent to pick us off one by one. This way, we control the terms. We choose the battlefield. We end it. Or we die trying. Everyone dies eventually. Might as well die doing something that matters. Morgan laughed, short, sharp, humorless. You're completely insane. Completely, Voss agreed. So are all of you, or you wouldn't be here. Get some sleep. We move in 4 hours. The team dispersed, some to check weapons, some to sleep, some to write letters they probably hoped nobody would ever have to read. Alara found herself on the roof, cold air biting through her jacket, city spread below like a game board she was about to flip. Voss joined her after a few minutes, limping badly despite the brace. You should be resting, she said. So should you. They stood in silence. Rain had stopped, leaving everything wet and reflective. Streetlights doubled in puddles. Do you really think we can do this? Alara asked. No. His honesty was almost refreshing. Then why try? Because the alternative is unacceptable. He leaned against the roof ledge, taking weight off his bad leg. Vincent won't stop. Marcus won't stop. They'll hunt us until we're dead or broken. And everyone who helped us, your sister, Tommy, Margaret, they'll die too, slowly, painfully, as examples. I've seen how the Cordovas handle loose ends. It's not quick. So we kill them first. We try to kill them first. There's a difference. He looked at her. I need you to understand something. Tomorrow morning, there's a very real possibility you die. Not hypothetically. Actually, bullet to the head, knife to the throat, bleeding out on expensive carpet while Marcus Cordova stands over you and explains exactly how badly you fucked up. I know. Do you? Because knowing intellectually and knowing, he tapped his chest. Here, in the place that wakes you up at 3 a.m. screaming, those are different. I've made my peace with it. No, you haven't. Nobody makes peace with dying. They just pretend they have until the moment comes and they realize they were lying to themselves. He turned to face her fully. I'm giving you an out, right now. Walk away. Morgan will get you new identification, money, a plane ticket somewhere Vincent's reach doesn't extend. You can start over, clean slate. None of this has to be your fight. It became my fight the second Rico put his hands on me. The second the Cordovas decided my father's debts made me property. The second you pulled me into your world and showed me what power actually looks like. She met his eyes. I'm not running. Not from this. Not anymore. Even if it kills you? Especially if it kills me. Because at least then I'll die on my terms, not theirs. He studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded, something like respect flickering across his face. Okay, then we do this together. And if we die, we make sure Vincent dies first. Deal. They shook hands. His grip was iron strong despite the injuries, despite the exhaustion, despite everything. Then he kissed her. Not gentle, not romantic. Just raw desperation and shared violence and the recognition that they might both be dead in 6 hours, so why the hell not? When they broke apart, the sky was starting to lighten in the east. Dawn approaching. The last dawn one or both of them might ever see. We should get ready, Voss said. Yeah, but neither of them moved. Just stood there watching the city wake up, watching early morning traffic start flowing, watching the world continue like tomorrow would be just another day. For most people, it would be. For them, it would be the day everything ended, one way or another. 0500 came too fast. The team assembled in silence, weapons checked, armor strapped on, comms tested. Everyone moving with the practiced efficiency of people who'd done this before and knew exactly how bad it could get. Morgan pulled Alara aside. You sure about this? No, but I'm doing it anyway. Here. Morgan handed her a vest. Kevlar, lightweight, designed for mobility over maximum protection. It won't stop a rifle round, but it'll stop most pistol calibers. Might buy you 3 seconds. Use them wisely. Thanks. Don't thank me. Just don't die. Voss is a bastard, but he's our bastard, and he cares about you more than he's willing to admit. So stay alive for him if nothing else. Alara strapped on the vest. It felt heavy, restrictive, like wearing someone else's skin. Voss appeared, fully geared. Assault rifle, sidearm. Enough ammunition to fight a small war. The brace on his leg was reinforced now, strapped so tight it had to be cutting off circulation. But he walked almost normally, adrenaline and painkillers masking the damage. Ready? He asked. As I'll ever be. They moved out in 3 vehicles. Morgan's team in one, Sarah's in another. Voss and Alara in the third, driving toward a warehouse on the edge of Westchester that looked abandoned from the outside but held a tunnel to hell beneath it. The drive was quiet. No music. No conversation. Just the sound of tires on wet pavement and both of them breathing. They parked behind the warehouse. Voss pulled out bolt cutters, cut through a chain that looked rusted but wasn't, swung open a door that hadn't been opened in years. Inside, darkness and the smell of mildew. Voss clicked on a flashlight, illuminated a staircase leading down into the earth. Stay close, he said. The tunnel's narrow. If we hit resistance, there's nowhere to go but through. They descended. The tunnel was exactly as terrible as Alara had imagined. Narrow, low ceiling, walls that wept moisture and smelled like decay. She could hear water dripping somewhere, echoing in the darkness like a countdown. They walked for what felt like miles, but was probably only half of one. Voss's limp got worse the farther they went, his breathing harsh and labored. But he didn't slow down, didn't complain, just kept moving forward like stopping would mean dying. Finally, the tunnel ended at a wall. Concrete reinforced, sealed with what looked like industrial adhesive. Voss pulled out a shaped charge. This is going to be loud. How loud? Loud enough they'll hear it in the house, which means we have maybe 90 seconds to get through this door, up 2 flights of stairs, and into position before every guard in the building comes running. That's not a lot of time. Then we'd better move fast. He set the charge, started the timer. 30 seconds. Get ready. Alara drew her gun, checked the magazine. 15 rounds plus 1 in the chamber. Not enough for 40 guards. Not nearly enough. The charge detonated. The wall blew inward, showering them with concrete dust and fragments. Alarms immediately started screaming, not in the tunnel, somewhere above them, in the house. Go! Voss shouted. They ran through the smoking gap into a basement that looked like it belonged in a horror movie. Old wine racks, dusty furniture, and stairs, wooden, creaking, leading up toward light and noise and almost certain death. They hit the first floor at a full sprint. Voss shot the first guard they encountered. Center mass, 2 rounds, professional execution. The man went down without a sound. Second guard came around a corner. Alara fired before she could think. Missed. Fired again. Hit his shoulder. He spun, raised his weapon. Voss put 3 rounds in his chest. They kept moving. Up the main staircase now, expensive carpet muffling footsteps. Paintings on the walls. Ancestors, probably. Cordova patriarch staring down with dead eyes. Gunfire erupted somewhere on the east side of the house. Sarah's team. Creating their distraction right on schedule. More gunfire from outside. Closer. Morgan's team engaging perimeter security. The whole house was waking up, scrambling, responding to threats from 3 directions at once, exactly as planned. They reached the second floor. A hallway stretched before them. Doors on both sides, guards pouring out of rooms, weapons raised. Voss didn't hesitate. Started firing. Controlled bursts. Professional. Methodical. Bodies dropped. Alara fired too. Missed more than she hit. But hit enough. A guard went down clutching his leg. Another stumbled back, blood spreading across his white shirt. They advanced through chaos, through smoke and screaming, and the metallic smell of blood mixing with expensive cologne. Marcus Cordova's office was at the end of the hall. Door reinforced. Locked. Voss kicked it. Once. Twice. The third kick broke it open, hinges screaming. Marcus sat behind his desk, phone pressed to his ear, face pale. He hung up when he saw them, reached for a gun in his desk drawer. "Don't," Voss said. Marcus froze, hand on the drawer, eyes calculating odds he had to know were terrible. "Where's Vincent?" Voss asked. "Gone. Left an hour ago. Said he had business in the city." Marcus's voice was steady despite the gun pointed at his face. "You're too late." "Bullshit. Check for yourself. Search the house. He's not here. He knew you were coming. Knew you'd try something desperate, so he left me to handle it." Marcus smiled without humor. "And now you're standing in my office, wasting time while my people regroup and cut off your escape routes." Voss's jaw tightened. "You're lying." "Am I?" Marcus gestured at the window. "Look outside. Count the guards. Count the vehicles pulling up. You have maybe 2 minutes before you're surrounded. So go ahead, shoot me. Kill an old man behind his desk and die 30 seconds later when my people storm this room." Alara moved to the window, looked out. Marcus was right. At least 20 vehicles were converging on the estate. Not Cordova soldiers, these were different, professional. Military-grade equipment, moving with coordination that suggested training beyond what street criminals usually possessed. "Who are they?" she whispered. "Reinforcements Vincent arranged before you even arrived." Marcus leaned back in his chair. "You thought you were so clever, hitting us at dawn, splitting our forces, coming through forgotten tunnels. But Vincent's been playing this game since before you were born. He knew you'd try something, so he set a trap, and you walked right into it." Voss's radio crackled. Morgan's voice tight with panic. "We're getting hit hard. Unknown hostiles, military-grade weaponry. We need extraction now." Then Sarah. "East Wing is overrun. Multiple casualties. I'm falling back." Gunfire, screaming, silence. Voss and Alara were alone. Surrounded. Trapped in a house full of people who wanted them dead, with their escape route cut off and reinforcements 30 seconds from breaching the office door. "You should have run when you had the chance," Marcus said quietly. Voss raised his gun, pointed it at Marcus's head. "Maybe. But I'm still going to kill you first." His finger tightened on the trigger. The office door exploded inward, not from a kick, from a breaching charge. Smoke poured through the opening, and figures moved in the haze, weapons raised, red laser dots painting everyone in the room. "Drop your weapons," a voice commanded. "Down on the ground, now!" Voss didn't move, kept the gun trained on Marcus. "Adrian," Alara said, "we're outnumbered." "I know. There's no way out." "I know. So what do we do?" He looked at her, really looked. And she saw something break behind his eyes, acceptance maybe, or just exhaustion so complete that fighting seemed pointless. "We make them earn it," he said. Then he fired. The round caught Marcus in the shoulder. Not fatal, not immediately, but painful. The old man screamed, clutched the wound, blood pouring between his fingers. The figures in the smoke opened fire. Elara dove behind the desk. Bullets chewed through expensive wood, splintered furniture, shattered the window behind them. She fired back blindly, knowing it was useless, knowing they were already dead, knowing this was just delaying the inevitable by seconds. Voss was beside her, firing with cold precision, dropping one attacker, then another. But there were too many, too much smoke, too many angles of attack. His gun clicked empty. He dropped the magazine, reached for a fresh one. A red dot appeared on his forehead. "Don't," the voice said. Voss froze. Magazine halfway to the weapon. "Drop it, slowly, then hands behind your head." He dropped the magazine, raised his hands. Figures emerged from the smoke. 8 of them, all in tactical gear, all pointing weapons at head level. The lead figure removed their helmet. Vincent smiled at them. "Surprise," he said. "Did you really think I'd be sleeping when I knew you were coming? Did you think I'd leave my uncle unprotected? Did you think anything about tonight would go the way you planned?" "You weren't supposed to be here," Voss said. "I wasn't supposed to be where you could see me. There's a difference." Vincent moved closer, gun still raised. Marcus was bait. This office was bait. The whole fucking estate was bait. And you bit because you're desperate and stupid and you thought one big move would solve all your problems. It still might. Voss's eyes flicked to the window, to the chaos outside. "Your people are scattered. Your estate is burning. Even if you kill us, the damage is done. The damage is a few fires and some dead soldiers I was going to replace anyway. But you," Vincent pointed the gun at Elara, "you're unique. You're the woman who made me look weak, who held a gun to my head, who burned my product and humiliated me in front of my own people. And now I'm going to take my time making you regret every second of it." "Vincent?" Marcus gasped from behind the desk. "Still alive, still bleeding. Just kill them. Don't—" "Shut up, Uncle." Vincent didn't look away from Elara. "You've grown soft. Too many years of negotiation. Too much diplomacy. But I remember what this family was built on. Blood. Fear. Absolute dominance, and I'm going to remind everyone what happens when you cross us." He raised the gun. Elara closed her eyes and heard glass shatter. Not the window behind them. Something else. Somewhere below. Followed immediately by an explosion that shook the entire building, threw everyone off balance, sent Vincent stumbling backward. "What the fuck?" he started. Another explosion, closer this time. The floor beneath them cracked, sagged, and Elara realized what was happening. The tunnels. Someone was collapsing the tunnels. Voss grabbed her hand. "Run!" They ran, out of the office, into the hallway. Behind them, Vincent was screaming orders, trying to rally his people, trying to maintain control as his estate literally fell apart beneath him. They hit the stairs, descended through smoke and chaos. Guards were everywhere, but none of them were focused on Elara and Voss anymore. They were trying to evacuate, trying to escape, trying to survive as the building came apart. They reached the first floor. The basement entrance was blocked, collapsed entirely. Flames licked up through the floorboards. "Front door," Voss said. They ran toward it. Almost made it. Vincent appeared, blocking their path, face streaked with soot, gun raised, murder in his eyes. "You don't get to run," he snarled. He fired. Elara felt the impact, not pain exactly, just pressure, like being punched hard in the chest. She looked down, blood spreading across her vest. The Kevlar had stopped the round from penetrating, but the force had cracked ribs, knocked air from her lungs. She couldn't breathe. Vincent raised the gun again, this time aiming for her head. Voss threw himself between them. The shot caught him in the side. He went down, clutching the wound, blood pouring between his fingers. "No," Elara gasped. "Run," he choked out. "Get out, now. I'm not leaving you. You don't have a choice." He shoved something into her hand, a detonator. "Finish it. End this. Make it mean something." She looked at the detonator, at Voss bleeding on the floor, at Vincent approaching with murder in his eyes and a gun that had 2 more bullets with their names on them. And she made a choice. She pressed the button. The entire estate exploded. Not just the tunnels. Charges that Voss must have placed throughout the building during their assault, timed or remote detonated. She couldn't tell which. The walls came down. The floors collapsed. Fire bloomed in every direction. Elara ran. through smoke and falling debris and heat that singed her hair. She didn't look back. Couldn't look back. Just ran for the front entrance as the building disintegrated around her. She burst out into dawn light and cold air and chaos. Vehicles burning, guards running. The Cordova estate, 3 generations of power and wealth and violence, collapsing into rubble and flames. Someone grabbed her. Morgan. Bleeding from a head wound, but alive. "Where's Voss?" Morgan shouted over the noise. "Inside. He's—" Alara couldn't finish, couldn't say it. Morgan's expression hardened, started to turn back toward the burning building. "Don't," Alara said. "He's gone. They're all gone." "You don't know that." "I know." She looked at the flames, at the smoke rising into the morning sky like a funeral pyre. "It's over. We won. We lost. I don't even know anymore. But it's over." Morgan grabbed her arm. "We need to move. Police are coming. Fire department. Whole county will be here in minutes." "Then let them come." "Alara, let them come. Let them see what's left. Let them try to figure out what happened here. Let everyone know that the Cordovas aren't untouchable, that someone fought back, that—" A hand grabbed her shoulder from behind. She spun. Voss stood there, covered in soot and blood, limping badly, clutching his side where Vincent had shot him, but alive. Impossibly, inexplicably alive. "You—" Alara started. "Later." He was coughing, barely staying upright. "We need to go. Now." "Vincent?" "Dead. Crushed when the second floor collapsed. Marcus, too. Half the family, most of the guards." He leaned on Morgan for support. "It's done. They're done. Now we disappear before someone figures out we were here." They ran to the remaining vehicle, Morgan's SUV, somehow still intact, piled in. Morgan drove, tires squealing as they pulled away from the burning estate. Behind them, sirens approached. Flames reached toward the sky, and the Cordova Empire burned. Alara looked at Voss, at the blood seeping through his fingers, at the pain etched in every line of his face. "You should be dead," she said. "Probably." He closed his eyes. "But dying seemed inconvenient, so I decided not to. That's not how it works. Worked for me." They drove through morning traffic, past people heading to work who had no idea what had just happened, past normal lives that would never touch the violence they'd just survived. Eventually Morgan spoke. "Where to?" Voss was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Somewhere they can't find us. Somewhere we can rebuild. Somewhere this can all finally be over." "Is it ever really over?" Alara asked. He looked at her, reached out, took her hand. "I don't know," he admitted, "but we're alive to find out. That's more than most people get." The sun rose higher, the city woke up, and somewhere in the wreckage of what had been the Cordova estate, investigators would spend weeks trying to understand what happened. They'd never figure it out, because the truth was too impossible, too brutal, too much like something out of a movie. A waitress and a criminal mastermind had declared war on an empire, and somehow, impossibly, they'd won. The safe house this time was different, not another industrial loft or abandoned building. This was a cabin 3 hours north of the city, buried so deep in the Adirondacks that cell service was a memory, and the nearest neighbor was 10 miles away through trees that had been growing since before the Cordovas existed. Morgan drove them there in silence. Voss bled quietly in the back seat, pressure bandage doing just enough to keep him conscious, but not enough to stop the steady drip onto leather upholstery. Alara sat beside him, one hand pressed against his side where the bullet had punched through, feeling his heartbeat against her palm. Irregular, weak, but still there. Still fighting. They arrived as the sun climbed higher, turning the sky from gray to pale blue. Morgan killed the engine, helped Voss inside while Alara swept the perimeter like Catherine had taught her, checking sight lines, escape routes, places where someone could hide and wait. Nothing. Just trees and silence and the kind of isolation that felt almost hostile in its completeness. Inside, the cabin smelled like pine and dust. One main room with a fireplace. A bedroom. A bathroom with plumbing that worked if you didn't ask too many questions. Supplies stacked in the corner. Medical gear, canned food, weapons, cash in vacuum-sealed bags. Everything you'd need to disappear and not be found. Morgan laid Voss on the bed, started cutting away his shirt. The wound was bad, Not immediately fatal, the bullet had missed major organs, but bad enough that without proper medical attention, infection would kill him in days. I need to dig it out, Morgan said. No anesthetic, no proper tools. This is going to be medieval. Do it, Voss gasped. You might pass out. Then I pass out. Just get the fucking bullet out before it poisons me. Morgan looked at Alara. Hold him down. When I start cutting, he's going to fight even if he doesn't mean to. Instinct. You need to keep him still or I'll do more damage than the bullet. Alara positioned herself at Voss's shoulders, hands pressing down. His skin was fever hot, slick with sweat. She could feel muscles tensing beneath her palms, his whole body coiling for pain it knew was coming. Morgan pulled out a knife. Sterilized it with whiskey that probably cost more than most people's rent. Poured some into the wound. Voss's back arched, a sound escaping his throat that was barely human. Sorry, Morgan muttered, then started cutting. The next 15 minutes were the longest of Alara's life. Voss didn't scream, just bit down on a leather belt Morgan shoved between his teeth and made sounds that suggested screaming would have been mercy. His body fought her grip with strength that shouldn't have existed in someone who'd lost that much blood. Alara held on anyway, pressed down with everything she had, whispered things she couldn't remember later. Apologies, maybe, or prayers to something she didn't believe in, or just desperate words meant to fill the silence between his ragged breathing. Finally, Morgan pulled the bullet free, held it up, deformed, dark with blood, then dropped it in a metal dish where it landed with a sound like a period ending a sentence. Got it. Morgan packed the wound with gauze, started stitching. He'll live. Probably. If infection doesn't set in. If he actually rests instead of trying to plan his next war. Voss's eyes opened, focused on Alara. Vincent? Dead, she said. You told me. The building collapsed on him. Did you see the body? No, but then he might be alive.